Chapter 501. In the divine tomb of the Shadow Realm, Neza was bound by vines in midair, with only his head exposed. It looked like he was tied up like a dumpling, unable to struggle. Whoosh! A sound rang out. Several figures ran over quickly and stopped not far from Neza, sizing him up in a daze. Hearing this, Neza regained some of his senses. He looked up, and his expression changed slightly. "Father, quick, run! Don't come over!" Neza shouted. The person who came was the pagoda-bearing Heavenly King, Li Jing. He held the exquisite pagoda in his hand and looked at Neza with a solemn expression. "General, let me do it." At this moment, a heavenly soldier stood up and said. After some thought, Li Jing nodded. "Okay." The heavenly soldier held a spear and stabbed at the vines on Neza's body. Neza's expression changed slightly when he saw it. "Don't come over." However, there was no time. Swoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air kept sounding. Vines drilled out from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, they bound the heavenly soldier tightly. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. Li Jing's expression changed slightly. He held the exquisite pagoda and waved his right hand. Swoosh! The exquisite pagoda let out a sound of something breaking through the air. It rotated rapidly and grew larger. It aimed at Neza and fell. Seeing this scene, Neza's eyes lit up. "Father, you can use dermic powers?" "That's right. Anyone can use it," Li Jing said. "In that case, I can use it too?" "Father, you don't have to do it. Let me do it." With a thought, the universe ring on Neza's neck spun rapidly and blasted at the surrounding vines. Boom! With an explosion, the vines that trapped Neza's body collapsed. The surroundings instantly returned to peace. All the vines disappeared without a trace. "Father." Neza ran forward with a look of surprise. "What happened just now?" Li Jing asked. "Father, I'm not sure either. The other party's strength is too terrifying. My body can't withstand it at all." Neza said, "All right, let's not talk about this. Let's go collect the primordial chaos chi first." Li Jing said, "Yes, father." Neza followed Li Jing and left quickly. Not long after, the group stood on a tall mountain and looked at the nine-color divine light flowing in the valley up ahead, and their eyes shone with a peculiar light. Primordial chaos energy. They spoke in unison. "What's that?" In the valley, they saw several figures. These people were currently capturing primordial chaos chi. With a single grab, he could grab several strands of primordial energy. This group of people was none other than Six-Eared Macaque and the others. Phew! The Six-Eared Macaque opened its mouth and sucked hard, swallowing a large amount of primordial chaos chi. "Awesome, awesome. Old son, am getting stronger and stronger. If this goes on, it won't take more than a few years for me to return to my peak. How about it? I will remember this grudge forever. Just you wait." After saying that, the Six-Eared Macaque dashed left and right, happily devouring the immemorial chi. "My physical body has become several times stronger. The arm that young master gave me has evolved again. Now, even if an ordinary God King is in front of me, they won't be able to withstand a single punch from me. Right now, my only weakness is my head. How great would it be if the young master could also make a head for me?" When Renshir muttered to himself, his face full of surprise. I've recovered my peak strength." Qiansu clenched her fists excitedly, unable to contain her joy. Then, she quickly converged the primordial energy. As for the others around Qiansu, they tried their best to collect the primordial energy frantically. However, in the face of the endless primordial energy, they couldn't collect it all in a short time. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of Li Jing and the others. Li Jing and Neza trembled slightly with excitement. "Father, shall we go and grab it?" Neza asked. "Don't worry, look over there." Looking in the direction of Li Jing's finger, a bodhisattva with a golden light all over his body slowly descended from the sky. Behind him, 108 Vajra Arhats followed. Everyone's body emitted golden light, looking incomparably sacred, as if the gods had descended from the sky. The leader was the Vajrahand Bodhisattva. After they landed, They looked coldly at Qian, Su, and the others. Stop! This voice was not loud, but the threat was extremely strong. Everyone stopped and looked at the Vajrahand Bodhisattva. Not good. He is Vajrahand, one of the 4 great bodhisattvas under Buddha. 6 Ears Macaque said. What? Even Tathagata's bodhisattva has come. How strong is he? Thunder Tribulation Dominator asked. He's at least a god king, including the treasures he has. I'm afraid he won't be easy to deal with. 6 Ears Macaque said. Let's see what he wants to do first. After some discussion, everyone made a unanimous decision. Seeing that everyone had stopped, the Vajrahand Bodhisattva smiled and nodded in satisfaction. Afterwards, he glanced at Heavenly Kingly and said, Heavenly Kingly, how much longer are you going to wait? Could it be that he's trying to reap the benefits? How can you reap the benefits of a few small fries like them? Vajrahand Bodhisattva said. Huh. A burst of hearty laughter sounded. Li Jing rushed over with Neza and stood in front of the Vajrahand Bodhisattva. As expected of the Vajrahand Bodhisattva, such strength is beyond my reach. Li Jing said with a fake smile. No. Compared to you, we are still far inferior. Vajrahand Bodhisattva said. Far from it. Did you bring the devouring alms bowl or the 9 heavens wonder lotus this time? Li Jing said. Haha, that kind of spiritual treasure is the Buddha's personal possession. Why would he give it to us? Since you're here, tell me, how are we going to split the primordial chi? Vajrahand Bodhisattva said. Of course, we'll split it 9-1. Neza said. All right, we'll split it 9-1. Vajrahand Bodhisattva said. Sorry, you misunderstood. We'll split it 9-1. Neza said. You. The group of Vajra Arhats behind him pointed at Neza with angry expressions. Vajrahand Bodhisattva smiled slightly. Li Jing, do you think so too? Ha, of course not. I think that above the 9 heavens is the Emperor's land. Everything belongs to the Celestial Emperor. Everything in the Shadow Realm naturally belongs to the Celestial Emperor. Logically speaking, it should all belong to the Celestial Emperor. However, on account of your contributions in suppressing the Dark Era, I can give you 5%. Vajrahand Bodhisattva was so angry that the corners of his mouth twitched. He pointed at Li Jing. Ba. Li Jing, are you trying to spar with us? Haha, let's spar then. Who's afraid of who? Li Jing held the exquisite pagoda in his hand, not the slightest bit afraid. Come. Vajrahand Bodhisattva stepped forward with 108 arhats, instantly making Neza and the others feel incredulous. It looked like the 2 sides were about to draw their swords and start fighting. At this moment, you're quite capable. A voice rang out. Chapter 502. You're quite capable. A voice descended from the sky. Then, a golden path descended from the sky and landed directly in the valley. A man with a vertical eye on his forehead and a triple-point blade in his hand walked down the golden path. Beside the vertical-eyed man was a dog that emitted a ferocious aura, causing others to not dare to approach it. Behind the man were 100,000 celestial soldiers. A dignified aura emanated from their bodies. Seeing this scene, the Vajrahand Bodhisattva's expression changed slightly. Yang Jian, the Celestial Emperor has really sent you. The number 1 general. Humph. Yang Jian snorted coldly and looked at the Vajrahand Bodhisattva, completely disregarding him. This primordial chaos energy belongs to us. Those who are not related to it, scram immediately. Otherwise, I'll kill without mercy. A powerful aura surged from Yang Jian's body, enveloping everyone. Sensing this aura, everyone's expression changed slightly. Ultimate God, I didn't expect you to break through to the ultimate God realm. No wonder he's the number 1 general under the Heavenly Sovereign. I didn't expect his strength to be so terrifying. What should we do? With him around, we're no match for him. The expressions of the Vajras behind Vajrahand Bodhisattva changed slightly as they looked at Yang Jian with fear. The corners of the Vajrahand Bodhisattva's mouth twitched, and his expression changed again and again. He looked at Yang Jian and said, Yang Jian, don't go too far. Humph, so what if I bully you? If you don't leave now, don't blame me for being merciless. Yang Jian pointed the triple point blade at the Vajrahand Bodhisattva and said coldly, Good, good. Then let this old monk spar with you. With that said, the Vajrahand Bodhisattva emitted a dazzling golden light from head to toe as he lunged at Yang Jian, especially those two arms, which looked like they were made of gold and looked indestructible. Ding! The two of them fought fiercely, and the sound of metal clashing rang out continuously. The space around them exploded, and the entire ground was shaking. The two of them flew in midair for a while, then they flew to the ground for a while. Wherever they went, everything cracked. Such a scene caused everyone's scalp to go numb and cold sweat to flow. Is this a battle between ultimate gods? This is too scary. This speed is too fast. I can't even see its trajectory. Yeah, I never thought that I wouldn't even have the courage to lean to the side when I'm a god king. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky, their faces filled with shock. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud noise. The Vajrahand Bodhisattva staggered backward and took some time to stabilize himself. A trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Yang Jian with a fearful expression. The Vajrahand Bodhisattva wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and grinned. His mouth was scarlet, as expected of the #1 warrior. You're quite capable. Do you think this is the end? The Vajrahand Bodhisattva looked at the 108 arhats on the ground and roared, Get into formation. With that, the 108 arhats moved at the same time. They formed hand seals and kept moving. Ma Li Ho Li. The scripture spat out from their mouths and quickly revolved around their bodies. In the blink of an eye, a 10,000-meter tall golden arhat phantom was formed, emitting an extremely terrifying aura. As soon as this figure appeared, a hint of fear appeared on Yang Jian's face. He looked at the 100,000 celestial soldiers behind him and roared, Get into formation. Kacha! The sound of eggshells cracking rang out continuously. The 100,000 celestial soldiers also emitted golden light that shot into the sky. In less than a moment, a 20,000-meter tall golden general was formed, holding a triple-point sword. It looked like Yang Jian's incarnation. Buzz, the triple-point sword pointed, and the air vibrated. The golden arhat's body staggered backward. After stabilizing its body, the golden arhat kicked its hind legs and leaped up. It pounced directly behind the golden general, grabbed its shoulder, and gave it a flurry of punches. Boom! Boom! The loud noises continued. The golden general grabbed the golden arhat with a back-end motion. Then it pressed the golden arhat to the ground, raised its fist, and smashed it down hard. Boom! Boom! Every punch caused the world to tremble. If it weren't for the fact that the Shadow Realm's geological density was higher, the entire world would have been blown apart. The sound of their battle attracted many onlookers. Most of these people were people who had entered the second level from the first level. They stood in the distance and watched from afar, not daring to approach at all. It's too terrifying. Who can compete with this terrifying power? The mysterious young master might be able to compete. I haven't seen the mysterious young master. They should all be from the heavenly realm, right? That goes without saying. Such voices kept ringing throughout the scene. Boom! Boom! The explosions continued, and the golden arhat's figure became more and more illusory. Finally, with a bang, it exploded. Bang! 108 arhats and the Vajrahand Bodhisattva scattered around like a goddess scattering flowers. Puff! Everyone spat out a mouthful of blood. Even the Vajrahand Bodhisattva vomited blood and fell to the ground, revealing a look of fear. Buzz! With a flash of light, the golden general formed by the 100,000 celestial soldiers scattered and turned into 100,000 celestial soldiers, standing behind Yang Jian. Yang Jian walked toward the Vajrahand Bodhisattva step by step, his cold killing intent undisguised. What do you want? Looking at Yang Jian's fierce appearance, the Vajrahand Bodhisattva trembled. Hee, I said kill without mercy. Yang Jian's voice was cold. You want to kill us, Aren't you afraid of provoking a war between Buddhism and Taoism? The Vajrayana Bodhisattva said. You? Are you worthy? Do you think old man Gautama will fight against the celestial emperor for you? You think too highly of yourself. Yang Jian said. As soon as these words came out, the Vajrayana Bodhisattva's face was full of sadness. Buzz, the triple-point knife, pointed, emitting waves of vibrating sounds. Any last words? Yang Jian asked. Yang Jian, don't be complacent. Sooner or later, you will die in the hands of Buddha. Are you done? Then go to hell. After Yang Jian finished speaking, the triple-point knife aimed at the Vajrayana Bodhisattva's head and directly stabbed down. The terrifying power made people's scalps tingle. The triple-point knife was about to stab into the Vajrayana Bodhisattva's head. At this time, Buzz, there was a tremor. Yang Jian's body staggered back. It took a long time for Yang Jian to stabilize his figure. He looked ahead, revealing a look of fear. He saw that in front of the Vajrayana Bodhisattva, there was an additional person at some point. This person was also holding an alms bowl and looked kind. This person was Samantabhadra Bodhisattva under Gautama. Amitba, benefactor, you are too heavy-handed. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva said. Samantabhadra, I didn't expect you to come too. You actually brought the heaven-devouring alms bowl. It looks like you're determined to get the primordial chaos chi. Yang Jian said. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva laughed loudly, revealing a confident look. Chapter 503. Primordial chaos energy belongs to those who are capable. Yang Jian, for the sake of the Celestial Emperor, I'll forget about you wanting to kill us. However, the primordial chaos chi belongs to us Buddhists. You should leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Samantabhadra's voice was not loud, but it was full of vigor. Upon hearing those words, the 100,000 heavenly soldiers trembled with anger, and their expressions kept changing. Under the heavens, is it the land of the Celestial Emperor? How dare a Buddhist sect be so arrogant? This is infuriating. If not for the heaven-devouring alms bowl, how could he be so arrogant? Yang Jian looked at Samantabhadra, his brows slightly raised and the corners of his mouth slightly trembled. At the same time, a hint of fear appeared on his face. If you want to obtain primordial chaos energy, you'll have to step over my dead body. Yang Jian stepped forward without the slightest fear. Roar! The howling celestial hound let out a roar as it first stood on end. From the looks of it, it was ready to attack at any moment. You want to deal with old Na with just the two of you? Samantabhadra smiled faintly, showing a calm expression. The celestial hound rushed towards Samantabhadra. As he ran, his entire body ignited with dazzling flames. These flames quickly swam about and formed a fire dragon. With a roar, it pounced straight towards Samantabhadra. Samantabhadra's expression changed slightly. He stretched out his hand and waved forward. The heaven-devouring alms bowl turned into a stream of light and flew straight towards the fire dragon. Bang! The moment it touched the fire dragon collapsed. When the howling celestial dog saw this, it quickly steadied itself, turned around, and galloped away. However, how could he make it in time? Phew! The heaven-devouring alms bowl emitted a terrifying suction force and landed on the howling celestial dog. Woo! The howling celestial dog let out waves of sorrowful cries and struggled frantically, but it was useless. Its body rapidly shrank. In the end, it fell into the heaven-devouring alms bowl and was bound inside, unable to move. Damn it! Yang Jian let out a furious roar and raised his triple-point sword. He turned into a stream of light and pounced at Samantabhadra. Seeing this, Samantabhadra did not panic. With a thought, buzz, the heaven-devouring alms bowl spun rapidly again, and a terrifying suction force instantly locked Yang Jian in place. Yang Jian gritted his teeth and persevered. He transformed into a piece of godly metal. But in front of the terrifying suction of the heaven-devouring alms bowl, it was useless. Yang Jian was about to be sucked into the heaven-devouring alms bowl. At this moment, Kacha! A crack appeared in the sky. A white-haired man walked out from crack. He picked up the deity, striking whip, and aimed it at the heaven-devouring alms bowl. Ka-ka! A series of cracking sounds rang out. The heaven-devouring alms bowl's body cracked like a spider web, and in the blink of an eye, it shattered. Bang! The backlash from the heaven-devouring alms bowl sent Samantabhadra flying backward, slamming heavily onto the ground. The explosion caused a cloud of dust to fly. Being buried inside, it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's eyeballs. Everyone froze on the spot, a look of disbelief on their faces. That kind of shock, that kind of daze, that kind of surprise. Words could not describe it. After a long while, hiss, the sound of people gasping could be heard. Everyone felt as if they were in a cold winter, unable to believe everything that was happening before their eyes. My ancestor, that was the heaven-devouring alms bowl. How could it be shattered by a whip? Who is he? Why is he so powerful? I know, he is Jiangxia. All the gods are conferred by him. What? Even an ancient god is here. Doesn't that mean he has the connate spirit treasure, the deity, striking whip? That goes without saying. Exclamations rang out one after another. Everyone's mouths were wide open in shock. Their gazes were fixed on Jiangxia, motionless. Jiangxia's appearance caused the expressions of King Kong Hand and the others to change slightly, their faces full of fear. The Celestial Arch is very capable. I didn't expect him to invite you out. King Kong Hand said, everything in the world is beneficial. Since there is 10% of the primordial qi, how can this old man not want it? Jiangxia stroked his long beard, revealing a calm look. He looked at Yang Jian and the others, saying, this old man has completed the task entrusted by the Celestial Arch. The rest is up to you. Don't worry, great-grandfather, I am here. Yang Jian patted his chest and stepped forward. What? You still don't want me to send you off? Yang Jian's voice was cold, his killing intent rising. King Kong Hand opened his mouth, unable to speak. Let's go. He led 108 Arhats, carried Samantabhadra out of the dust, and flew out quickly with Samantabhadra, standing in the distant sky, watching from afar. That appearance was full of unwillingness. Yang Jian turned a blind eye to this scene. At this moment, his gaze was directly fixed on six-eared macaque and the others. You still haven't left? Do you still need me to send you off? Yang Jian held the triple-point blade and walked forward step by step. The sharp blade in his hand was buzzing, as if it was thirsting for blood. Roar, howling celestial dog, also followed beside Yang Jian, its blood-red eyes revealing a murderous aura. General, let us lend you a hand. Neza and Li Jing also walked forward. Everyone waved the magic weapons in their hands and walked towards six-eared macaque and the others step by step. Seeing this scene, Chunya and the others' expressions changed slightly, and they all retreated. Don't be afraid, everyone. We just happened to meet them. Qiansu's voice calmed everyone down, especially when Renshi. He licked his lips, his whole person's fighting spirit soaring. Leave that kid to me. The rest are yours. When Renshi pointed to Yang Jian and said, leave the guy with the tower to me. The one with the diamond ring, leave it to me. 100,000 heavenly soldiers. Let's go together. Just like how they would distribute food, everyone assigned their opponents. Hearing this, the corners of Yang Jian and the others' mouths twitched slightly, and their faces were angry. And trying to shake a tree, overestimating yourself. Today, I'll let you see the power of this seat. Yang Jian pointed the triple-point blade in his hand, and howling celestial dog pounced toward Renshi. Howl! A dragon roar shook the sky and the earth. A fire dragon rushed toward Renshi. Seeing this scene, Renshi did not dodge. Just in time, the corner of his mouth raised, and he stretched out his left fist and blasted toward the fire dragon. Kacha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang out. Immediately afterward, boom! There was an explosion. The fire dragon directly collapsed. Such a scene directly surprised everyone in place, and their eyes were full of disbelief. One punch destroyed Howling Celestial Dog's big move. Amazing, the Rakshasa punch is too powerful. Yeah, the Rakshasa punch is so powerful. If the mysterious young master comes, how terrifying would it be? Is there need to guess? It's absolutely terrifying and unimaginable existence. The exclamations kept ringing, and for a while, they couldn't stop at all. Chapter 504. Howl. The howling celestial dog let out a mournful cry, and its body was knocked back by Rinshir's punch. He fell to the ground, twitching and foaming at the mouth. Yang Jian stood rooted to the ground in shock. He knew very well how strong the howling celestial dog was. Even if it faced a god king, it would still be able to put up a fight. He didn't expect that he would be forced back by a punch from this unremarkable human. How is this possible? For a moment, Yang Jian could not believe that all of this was real. Courting death, Yang Jian roared angrily, took a step forward, and rushed towards Rinshir. Phew! The tri-point blade glowed with a dazzling golden light, so bright that no one could open their eyes. The entire world darkened, as if all light was being devoured by the tri-point blade in Yang Jian's hand. The terrifying power mixed with the aura of tearing everything directly blasted towards Rinshir. The expressions of Qian Su and the others changed drastically when they saw this scene. Elder One, be careful! Everyone shouted in unison, but it was too late. Boom! A loud explosion shook the heavens and split the earth. Boundless chi waves rolled out. Dust filled the air and shrouded everything, making it hard for people to open their eyes. It took a long time for the scene to calm down. Everyone looked toward the source of the battle, and their eyes widened in disbelief. How is this possible? Oh my god! Yang Jian was pushed back. He has the strength of an ultimate god. Amazing! The Rakshasa punch is really something. Cries of surprise could be heard continuously. For a time, he could not calm down at all. As the sounds of battle rang out, more and more people came to watch. Everyone's expression was extremely similar at this moment. Yang Jian looked at Rinshir, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. The expression on his face kept changing. He did not expect that the other party would be able to force him back with just his physical body. If he used the power of laws, just how strong would he be? It was unimaginable. However, what Yang Jian didn't know was that Rinshir hadn't even condensed his godhead yet. If he knew all of this, he would probably vomit blood out of anger. Interesting. I'm going to get serious now. After speaking, Yang Jian rushed towards Rinshir again. Ding! The sound of metal clashing rang out continuously. Boundless chi waves surged out. The terrifying aura made everyone's scalp go numb. The two of them fought, and it was impossible to determine the victor in a short time. The other side, Neza and Qian Su fought against each other. Both of them seemed to be equally matched. The more Neza fought, the more aggrieved and annoyed he became. Many times, when victory was clearly on the horizon, Qian would always be able to resolve the crisis. Not only that, but the defense of that robe was so strong that even his various magic treasures could not break it. What infuriated Neza even more was that the lancet on Qian clothes had the power to tear through everything, and it completely tore apart his red armillary sash. This was a Dharma treasure that perfected Tai had given him. It had actually shattered just like that. Damn it, Neza cursed. Just as he was about to use his ultimate move, boom, with a loud bang, Neza was sent flying by Qian Su's attack and crashed into the ground. Not far from the center of the battle, the six-eared macaque and Li Jing were locked in a fierce battle. Buzz, the Ling Long treasure pagoda in Pagoda King Li's hand expanded rapidly, and in an instant, the six-eared macaque was sucked into it. Buzz, the exquisite pagoda, shrank again and landed in Li Jing's hands. The corners of Li Jing's mouth curled up as he revealed a smug expression. A little monkey is overestimating himself. However, just as he finished speaking, bang, there was an explosion. The exquisite pagoda directly exploded. It shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Such a scene directly stunned Li Jing. He was filled with disbelief. This was a Dharma treasure that Taoist Randang had given him. How could it be broken so easily? How is this possible? Fake, it must be fake. This was a dream. Li Jing pinched himself a few times and grimaced in pain. While he was in a daze, the six-eared macaque had already stood in front of him. He saw. The six-eared macaque smiled slightly with a smug smile on his face. He held the rod in his hand with both hands and had a smug look on his face. I didn't expect that the rod that young master forged for me would have such shocking power. Old Li Jing's exquisite pagoda was shattered by a rod. Old Li Jing is going to vomit blood from anger now, right? The corners of the six-eared macaque's mouth curled up slightly. Before Li Jing could react, he leaped and pounced in front of him. He raised the rod in his hand and aimed at his head. Boom! With a loud noise, Li Jing's body flew out upside down and directly slammed into the ground, causing dust to fly. On the other side, the Thunder Retribution Lord's body expanded to 10,000 meters, with 4 heads and 8 arms, and all kinds of weapons were surging with lightning. He leaped up and rushed into the 100,000 heavenly soldiers. With one strike, with the Thunder Retribution Lord as the center, the lightning ball formed by hundreds of millions of strands of electric light quickly spread out. Boom! Everywhere it went, there was an explosion. The 100,000 heavenly soldiers were like ants being washed up by a flood, flying out upside down and falling heavily to the ground. Boom! The sound of dust exploding kept ringing. It took a long time for the scene to gradually calm down. At this moment, there was dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals were so vulnerable in front of the group of people under the mysterious young master. What kind of existence was the mysterious young master? I'm afraid it was an unimaginable existence. Hiss! The sound of inhaling cold air came one after another. After an unknown period of time, Yang Jian and the others struggled to stand up one after another. They gathered together and looked at the six-eared macaque and the others, revealing a look of fear. General Yang, what should we do? There's no way. We're not their opponents. Yang Jian's face showed a look of unwillingness. So much primordial qi. Are we just going to give it to them like this? Then what good plan do you have? Isn't Jiang Tai Gong here? With his help, it should be easy to get it. Him. Yang Jian looked at Jiang Ziya's face and withdrew his gaze. Then, he shook his head slightly. It's harder to get him to help. He saw that Jiang Ziya had his arms crossed, showing an expression of not helping either side. What? Why don't you get lost? Do you want us to invite you again? One Rincher stepped forward, pointed to Yang Jian, and said, You. Yang Jian's chest stagnated, unable to answer. He didn't expect that he had just said this, and now he was immediately rebutted. This was really a loud slap in the face. What should I do? General Yang, you give Jiang Tai Gong 10% more primordial qi. I think he will agree to help. Yes, General Yang, if we go back empty-handed like this, it's not good to explain to the Sky Emperor. That's right, we give Jiang Tai Gong 10% more. I think the Sky Emperor will not say anything. Hearing these voices, Yang Jian secretly nodded. That's fine, I'll go discuss it with Tai Gong. Yang Jian stepped forward and walked toward Jiang Ziya. The sound of the next sentence made Yang Jian furious. Chapter 505. Yang Jian, if you want to make a move, I want 90%. The remaining 10% is yours. Jiang Ziya's words made Yang Jian tremble in anger. Great-grandfather, you are robbing. Everything under the sky belongs to the emperor. Aren't you afraid of the anger of the emperor? Yang Jian said. Ha ha. Jiang Ziya laughed and sneered. Don't use Shi Wu Dao to suppress this old man. It's useless. If he has this ability, why didn't he come in person? I don't think he dares. Jiang Ziya said. You. Yang Jian's chest stagnated, speechless. If you want this old man to make a move, then hurry up, otherwise I won't leave 10% for you. Jiang Ziya said. Yang Jian opened his mouth, but didn't say a word. His fists unwillingly loosened and clenched and loosened again. Okay, I agree. Yang Jian said. Okay. Jiang Ziya stroked his long beard. His body moved quickly and stood in front of Six Ears Macaque and the others in an instant. Little boy, This primordial chi is this old man's. You guys leave quickly. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for not talking about martial ethics. As soon as his voice fell, boom, a loud noise. When Rinshir punched Jiang Ziya's face, directly blasting Jiang Ziya a step back. Jiang Ziya covered his right face and rubbed it hard. His face showed a look of disbelief and surprise. Pain. I can actually feel pain. How many years has it been? No one has hurt this old man with a physical body for a long time. Little boy, it seems that you are the one who doesn't talk about martial ethics. This old man also has to fight back. When Rinshir, who was opposite Jiang Ziya, was also stunned at the moment. Pain? Only pain? Moreover, it only blasted him a step back? How is this possible? While when Rinshir was stunned, Jiang Ziya stepped forward and instantly appeared in front of when Rinshir, aimed at his abdomen, and blasted a punch. Boom! With a loud noise, when Rinshir's body flew out and slammed into the ground. Boom! Boom! The loud noise continued. Qian Su, the six-eared macaque, Han Xing, and the others were sent flying like kites with their strings cut before crashing heavily onto the ground. Although none of them were seriously injured, they were unable to move their bodies. For a moment, they were unable to stand up. Jiang Taigong is too awesome. Oh my god, this is a real big shot. He's at least an 8th grade divine venerable. Not only that, I'm afraid his physical body has already reached the level of Emperor God. I wonder who is stronger between the mysterious young master and Jiang Taigong. Of course it's Jiang Taigong. He is an old monster who has lived for millions of years. Cries of alarm rang out continuously. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Jiang Ziya with admiration. Jiang Ziya completely ignored their gazes. At this moment, his attention was completely focused on the primordial chi. Phew! He waved his right hand and began to collect them. However, when he had just collected a strand of primordial energy, an unexpected event occurred. Kacha! Cracks appeared on the ground as blood-colored vines drilled out of the ground and pounced at them. Such a scene directly frightened everyone in place. Before they could react, these blood-colored vines directly tied everyone up like dumplings. No matter how hard they tried, they could not break free. At this moment, whether it was Jiang Ziya or the onlookers, everyone was trapped in place. What the hell is this? Help, help! Oh my god, this is Blood Spirit Ghost Vine. What Blood Spirit Ghost Vine? Oh my god. Cries for help, screams, cries for help, exclamations, the voices were intertwined. The whole scene was extremely chaotic. Break for me. Jiang Ziya waved the god-beating whip and whipped it hard. Boom! The Blood Spirit Ghost Vine that tied him up were all broken. He stepped out and came to midair. When he was about to swing the god-beating whip, he could not help but widen his eyes. He saw that in front of him, a blood-colored figure appeared out of nowhere. This figure, without any hesitation, aimed at his chest and pressed down. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Jiang Ziya's body fell straight down like a kite with a broken string. The god-beating whip in his hand fell directly into the hands of the blood-colored figure. The blood-colored figure waved its right hand, and Jiang Ziya's body was once again entangled by the Blood Spirit Ghost Vine. Without the god-beating whip, no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to break free. Jia, the blood-colored figure looked up to the sky and laughed, looking crazy. I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're finally here. This seat's strength is finally going to recover a little. My flesh and blood, come to this seat. The blood-colored figure stretched out its right hand and grabbed toward the sky. Buzz, there was a vibration. A blood-red lightning ball condensed and formed in the blood-colored figure. Then, the blood-colored figure clenched hard. Boom! There was an explosion. The blood-colored lightning ball exploded directly. It turned into hundreds of millions of blood-red electric arcs, rushing to each blood spirit ghost vine. These blood spirit ghost vines were like living things, growing rapidly. One by one, the spikes were directly poured into everyone's body. Come on, my energy! This sound rose. The energy in everyone's body rushed through the blood spirit ghost vine and poured into the blood-colored figure. The blood-colored figure condensed at a speed visible to the naked eye. She had the appearance of a woman, and her facial features were blurred and unclear. Seeing this scene, Jiang Ziya's expression changed dramatically. She's the blood spirit. What? She's the blood spirit. One of the 9 great generals of the dark taboo. The blood spirit? Yes, it's her. I didn't expect her to be hiding in this shadow realm. This is troublesome. What should we do? It's over, we're all over. Voices of despair kept ringing. Boom! The bodies of the weaker shoujo were sucked dry in less than a breath, and then exploded in the end. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of other cultivators. Everyone's body was in endless despair. They struggled wildly and kept begging for mercy. However, it was useless, seeing that everyone was about to be sucked dry. At this time, the world shook and 2 figures appeared, one in front and one behind, around the blood spirit. These 2 figures were Xiao Fun and Xiao Fong. Both of them stretched out their palms at the same time and pressed on the blood spirit. Boom! 2 explosions. The left and right shoulders of the blood spirit directly exploded into powder. She struggled wildly and quickly ran away, landing in the distance, coldly looking at Xiao Fong and the others. Who are you? The blood spirit's eyes were full of fear. The 2 women looked at each other, smiled coldly at the same time, and disappeared at the same time. When they appeared again, they were already in the body of the blood spirit. Both of them stretched out their palms at the same time and quickly blasted forward. In the next second, the 2 women's faces changed dramatically. Not good, we've been tricked. Chapter 506. Xiao Fun and Xiao Fong stretched out their palms at the same time and pressed down on the blood spirit's body. When the blood spirit saw this, it sneered coldly and stood on the spot, not moving. There was a tremor. Xiao Fun and Xiao Fong's expressions changed drastically. The blood spirit's body turned into 2 blood vines and instantly bound Xiao Fun and Xiao Fong like dumplings. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. The blood spirit looked at Xiao Fun and Xiao Yu with a smug smile. Great underworld ancestor, you 2 didn't expect this day to come, right? How does it feel to be trapped by me in your own territory? The blood spirit's words were like thunder in everyone's ears. For a moment, everyone was stunned on the spot. Shock and disbelief were written all over their faces. There are 2 great underworld ancestor. What the F***CK? That's amazing. What's there to be surprised about now? Let's think about how to get out of this predicament first. Get out of this predicament? Forget it. Even great underworld ancestor is trapped. How can we get out? We are trapped in great underworld ancestor's territory. What should we do? Despair was written all over everyone's face. Their hearts were dead as they stared at the blood spirit in a daze, hoping that she would show mercy. The blood spirit ignored everyone's gazes. She smiled at Xiao Fun and Xiao Fong and continued to speak. No matter how much you calculated, you didn't expect me to beat you at your own game, right? You want to bait me out, but I also want to devour you. After devouring you 2, I will be able to recover to my peak strength. At that time, who can stop me? The savage laughter lingered for a long time. Don't be smug, Xiao Fong said. Smug? I'm smug. What else do you have? I'll take them all. Are you waiting for your master, the Dao ancestor, to save you? Stop dreaming. How can the inheritance from his previous life be digested in such a short time? Forget about everything else. Just that memory alone will shatter his soul's sea. I'm afraid he will need tens of thousands of years to recover. By the time he comes out, I will have already ruled the entire world and become the master of the 3 realms. After saying that, the blood spirit laughed loudly again. That appearance was indescribable with words. Really? At this moment, a sound was heard. This sudden voice caused the blood spirit's body to tremble. Raising his head, Zhang Xian narrowed his eyes in astonishment. This is impossible. Her voice was trembling, and there was only panic in her eyes. Everyone's attention was drawn to this voice. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the white-clothed youth in the sky. He stood there calmly, with an expression of being in control of everything. It was Sun Hao. Sun Hao's appearance made the originally desperate people regain the light of hope. The mysterious young master is here. We are saved. The mysterious young master is the most powerful existence. No one can compare to him. Young master, you've already attracted the inheritance? Young master, your strength is beyond my imagination. Young master, you save us every time. Everyone looked at Sun Hao with admiration, and their voices were full of gratitude. Yang Jian looked at Sun Hao and frowned slightly. Who is he? Why is he so handsome? Why do I face him like facing the Celestial Emperor, without any resistance? Is he a Dao ancestor? Thinking of this, Yang Jian's scalp was numb, and the hope he originally showed disappeared in an instant. On his face, there was a look of despair. Beside him, Li Jing and Neza both had a look of despair. Not far away, when Vajrahand and Samantabhadra saw Sun Hao, they were shocked at first, then stunned, and then fell into despair. At the scene, one person showed an incomparably moved expression. He looked at Sun Hao, and tears were brewing in his eyes. This person was none other than Jiang Zia. Grandmaster, I didn't expect that I would be able to see you in my lifetime. My master should have been resurrected by you, right? Jiang Zia muttered to himself, looking at Sun Hao with an excited face. Sun Hao turned a blind eye to these gazes. He stretched out his finger unhurriedly and pressed forward. Gotcha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang out. The blood-colored vines that bound everyone's bodies were completely torn apart. At this moment, everyone regained their calmness. At the same time, the energy that was swallowed by the blood spirit flew out and poured into everyone's body. I've recovered. I've actually recovered. I thought we were dead for sure, but I didn't expect that the mysterious young master would save us. The mysterious young master is too powerful, breaking the binding with one finger. It's really amazing. Thank you, mysterious young master, for saving our lives. Everyone prostrated on the ground and kowtowed. That pious appearance was hard to describe in words. Even Yang Jian and the others kowtowed at this moment. Get up. Sun Hao's voice was calm. Thank you, mysterious young master. The neat voice broke through the sky. The blood spirit looked at Sun Hao, gently stepped forward, and slowly retreated, not daring to disturb Sun Hao at all. However, she hadn't left 2 steps. Did I let you go? This sound was like a demon voice from hell, causing the blood spirit's body to tremble, and it stood in place. Lord, what else do you want? The blood spirit asked. I saw a trace of karma on you. Tell me, who is the dark taboo behind you? Sun Hao asked. Lord of Darkness? The blood spirit's face showed deep fear, as if it had touched some taboo, and even its words were trembling. Yes, tell me, who is he? Sun Hao asked. Lord, I actually don't know. I have never seen his real body. When he controlled me, he used some methods to make me have to do things for him. Lord, all my methods were taught by him. The blood spirit was afraid that Sun Hao would not be satisfied, so it said a lot in one breath. Hearing this, Sun Hao smiled coldly. Continue if you don't say it, then go to hell. After saying that, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and aimed at the blood spirit. Seeing Sun Hao's finger coming, the blood spirit's face changed drastically. Panic and panic were written all over its face. If it was hit by that finger, then there was only one possibility, and that was that its soul would fly away and disappear. I can only take a gamble. The blood spirit secretly made a decision. I'll say. The blood spirit nodded repeatedly, watching the finger stop 5 inches in front of its forehead, and sweat rolled down. Say it. Sun Hao's voice was cold. Lord, if I say it, you won't kill me, right? The blood spirit asked. You don't have the right to bargain with me. Sun Hao said. Yes, Lord, I'll say. The blood spirit nodded repeatedly. However, the next scene made Sun Hao think it was not good, and his whole body trembled with anger. Chapter 507. Sir, I'll speak. The blood spirit nodded repeatedly. Just as he was about to speak, bang! With an explosion, the blood spirit's body and soul shattered. It turned into ashes and disappeared. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao clenched his fists and his face showed anger. It was like this again, killing an assassin right under his nose. Just what kind of existence was this darkness taboo? How could it have such ability? Sun Hao's mind moved, and he used the law of karma. But when he sent it out, he could not find any karma. This taboo of darkness was definitely not meant for ordinary existences. From now on, he could only take it one step at a time. Withdrawing his mood, Sun Hao's eyes swept across the crowd, and finally, he stared at Jiang Ziya. "Jiang Ziya," Sun Hao shouted, "your disciple is here." Jiang Ziya bowed and came forward, crawling in front of Sun Hao with a respectful look. "Why do you call this seat Grandmaster?" Sun Hao asked. "Patriarch, I am the disciple of Tao Father Randang. Have you forgotten?" Jiang Ziya said. "Randang." Sun Hao frowned. After some thought, he raised his eyebrows. "So it's him. Randang, come out," Sun Hao shouted. As soon as these words came out, the space in front of Sun Hao distorted, and a 10,000-meter tall golden Buddha appeared in front of Sun Hao. His body shrank rapidly, turning into the size of a normal person, and he performed a Buddhist salute to Sun Hao. "Greetings, Master." Dipankara Buddha bowed respectfully. "Just call me young master from now on. Is he your disciple?" Sun Hao pointed at Jiang Ziya and asked. "Not bad." Buddha Dipankara nodded. "Since we are family, I will give you a gift." Sun Hao looked at Jiang Ziya and said. Hearing this, Jiang Ziya's face was filled with desire. The Tao Ancestor spoke. How could a gift be ordinary? Excitement was written all over his face. Phew! Sun Hao waved his right hand, and the god-beating whip in Jiang Ziya's hand flew out involuntarily and fell into Sun Hao's hand. Then, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Sizzle! Strands of multicolored light flew out of his hand and entered the god's striking whip. Seeing this, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. My God, this is Saint Chi. The Tao Ancestor has already become a saint. Such terrifying Saint Chi. I'm afraid he's not an ordinary saint. The strength of the mysterious young master is really terrifying and unimaginable. Cries of surprise could be heard. The entire scene was in an uproar. For a time, he could not calm down at all. Before everyone's shocked gazes, the god's striking whip in Jiang Ziya's hand underwent a qualitative change, transforming from a top-grade divine artifact to a sacred artifact. A supreme divine artifact. No, this is a sacred artifact. My ancestor, is this all a dream? Too powerful to be able to forge a saint artifact with his bare hands. Who else in this world can do that? The light of worship swept Sun Hao in waves. At this moment, Sun Hao became the focus of attention. Jiang Ziya stared blankly at the rapidly changing god striking whip. He could not calm down at all. That kind of shock was indescribable in words. Jiang Ziya, Sun Hao shouted, your disciple is here? Jiang Ziya walked in front of Sun Hao with a respectful look on his face. This is my gift to you. Do you like it? Sun Hao asked. Like it? It was more than just like. I like it so much. Thank you, Grandmaster, for the weapon. Jiang Ziya knelt in front of Sun Hao with an excited face and saluted respectfully. After receiving the god-striking whip, Jiang Ziya trembled with excitement. He held the god-striking whip and looked at it for a long time before putting it back into the soul space. Such a scene strongly stimulated everyone's nerves. In everyone's eyes, there was incomparable envy. They looked at Sun Hao, and their expressions kept changing. Sun Hao had long been accustomed to this. He calmly glanced around and finally fixed his eyes on Yang Jian. Yang Jian, do you know your mistake? Sun Hao's voice was not loud, but like a thunderclap, Yang Jian's body trembled. On his face, there was an incomparable bitterness. He walked forward cautiously and knelt down. Greetings, Tao Ancestor. This general knows his mistake. Know your mistake? What did you do wrong? Sun Hao asked rhetorically. This general shouldn't accept the heavenly emperor. No, Shi Wu Dao threatened me to become his lackey. Helping him to kill Zhongliang is a big mistake. Please grant me the death penalty, Tao Ancestor. After speaking, Yang Jian prostrated on the ground with a resolute look on his face. Although he had no memory, his previous life still told him something. This Yang Jian was originally a small general under his command. After his death, in order to survive, he listened to Shi Wudao's arrangements. Since then, he has survived until now. In that case, this seat will grant you the death penalty. After speaking, Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Buzz, with a flash of light, a 10-colored light flew toward Yang Jian quickly. Sensing this irresistible force, Yang Jian closed his eyes and quietly waited for death. However, after waiting for a while, there was no pain at all. On the contrary, it was very comfortable. After these 10-colored lights poured into the body, it rapidly transformed the body. Yang Jian clearly sensed that his strength was skyrocketing. Sensing this, Yang Jian's eyes bloomed with a strange light. He looked at Sun Hao, full of puzzlement. "Dao Ancestor, why?" Yang Jian asked. "This seat asks you. Are you willing to submit to this seat?" Sun Hao asked. "Yes, of course I am willing. Dao Ancestor. In fact, I am enduring humiliation like this, waiting for your return." Yang Jian's eyes were full of tears, and his face was full of excitement. He kept kowtowing to Sun Hao. "Okay, you step aside first." Sun Hao said, "Yes, Dao Ancestor." Yang Jian retreated and stood aside. Then, Sun Hao stared at Samantabhadra and Vajrahand. As soon as this gaze swept, the two trembled. Plop! Their knees knelt on the ground uncontrollably, shivering. In front of this kind of powerhouse, they couldn't even struggle. It was simply terrible. "Dao Ancestor, spare my life." The two prostrated on the ground and kept kowtowing to salute. "Surrender or perish." Sun Hao's voice was cold, and the killing intent on his body was not concealed. As soon as these words came out, the two trembled. Their faces changed, and for a while, it was difficult to decide. "Samantabhadra, Vajrahand, do you two still want to collude with Buddha?" At this time, a roar came into their ears. It was Buddha Dipamkara who said this. As soon as these words came out, the two directly prostrated on the ground and kept kowtowing. "Disciple is willing to surrender. Disciple is willing to surrender." The other 108 arhats also surrendered and knelt in front of Buddha Dipamkara. "Dipamkara, they will be handed over to you. This seat needs absolute surrender. Do you understand?" Sun Hao said, "Young master, I understand." After speaking, Buddha Dipamkara looked at Samantabhadra and the others and said, "Release your souls and let this seat plant the annihilation soul seed. If there is any betrayal, your souls will be annihilated in the world." Hearing this, everyone's faces were bitter, but they had to listen. Samantabhadra and the others released their souls one after another, waiting for Buddha Dipamkara to plant the soul seed. Chapter 508. Who? Dipankara Buddha pointed with his right hand, and wisps of golden light poured into everyone's eyebrows. Boom! Some of the arhats who did not let go of their souls directly burst apart. They exploded into powder and disappeared on the spot. Seeing someone die, the others did not dare to resist. They all let go of their souls and let Dipankara Buddha plant the soul seeds. After a while, the remaining 80 people all planted the soul seeds. From this moment on, they had to listen to Dipankara Buddha and did not dare to resist. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao nodded slightly. Then, he swept his gaze on Li Jing and Neza. "What about you?" Sun Hao asked. "Dao Ancestor, we are willing to surrender and go through fire and water for you. Don't even think about it. Even if I die, I will never betray the Heavenly Emperor." Neza surrendered. Li Jing would not surrender. "Father, you are confused. The position of the Heavenly Emperor is originally the Dao Ancestor. Shi Wudao just seized the position of the Heavenly Emperor. As the Heavenly Generals, we should listen to the Dao Ancestor." Neza said, "Even so, so what? At least now this old man is eating the food of the Heavenly Emperor. Let this old man betray. Dream on." Li Jing said, "Father," Neza had nothing to say. "You really don't surrender?" Sun Hao's voice was cold, and his killing intent was strong. "Never. Dao Ancestor, If you want to kill me, I will never frown. Li Jing said. Looking at Li Jing's appearance, Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Sure enough, as the legend said, Li Jing was a hardbone, just foolishly loyal. However, he liked such a person. Li Jing, what if I am willing to promote you to the God Emperor realm? Sun Hao said. As soon as these words came out, boom! It was like a thunderclap in Li Jing's ears. His strength was only at the God King realm now. If he wanted to reach the divine venerable realm, he didn't know when he would go. And as soon as he opened his mouth, it was the God Emperor realm. How is this possible? Wasn't it to improve his strength by following the heavenly Emperor God? If he had this ability, why couldn't he betray? Tao Ancestor, is what you said true? Li Jing asked. Of course. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. After I promote you to the God Emperor realm, everyone will think that you are only at the God King realm. Sun Hao released another bombshell. Li Jing was stunned when he heard that. He revealed a look of disbelief. With such abilities, there was nothing for him to worry about. Tao Ancestor, as long as you let me reach the God Emperor realm, I will naturally submit. Li Jing said. Not bad. Sun Hao smiled and nodded. Yang Jian, Jiang Zia, Neza, Li Jing, come forward. Sun Hao said. Yes, Tao Ancestor. Yes, Grandmaster. Everyone came forward in turn and stood respectfully in front of Sun Hao. You all sit down. Sun Hao said. Yes. Everyone sat cross-legged in front of Sun Hao. And you guys? Sun Hao looked at Six-Eared Macaque and the others and said. Hearing this, the Six-Eared Macaque's eyes lit up. Without thinking about it, they sat cross-legged in front of Sun Hao. Sun Hao took out the guqin and began to play. Clang! The sound of the zither rang out. A tin-colored light was drawn from Sun Hao's fingertips, wrapping everyone like a flowing cloud. The multicolored light entered their bodies through their pores. Then, it flowed through his meridians and spread throughout his body. They could clearly sense that their strength was rapidly increasing. Everyone could clearly sense that they were becoming stronger. Ninth grade Divine King? My God! Li Jing's beard curled up, and his shocked appearance was indescribable. In just one breath, he broke through to the third grade. If he relied on his own strength to break through, it would take thousands of years. If he didn't feel it himself, how could he believe it? Divine Venerable? This is a dream, right? Li Jing opened his mouth wide, and for a moment, he couldn't believe all this. He pinched himself a few times, grimaced in pain, and then recovered. He didn't even absorb it, but just passively let the saint origin qi penetrate into his body, and he broke through so quickly. If he operated his cultivation method, what would happen? Then Li Jing operated his cultivation method and began to absorb these saint origin qi. Kacha, the barrier of the realm, kept exploding. First grade Divine Venerable, second grade Divine Venerable, ninth grade Divine Venerable. This was as simple as drinking water and eating. However, it still didn't stop. Kacha, the last thick layer of the realm membrane, also shattered. At this moment, Li Jing reached the Divine Emperor realm. Behind his head, there was a white divine ring behind his head. This meant that he was a first-grade Divine Emperor. Only when he reached the Divine Emperor realm would he have a divine ring. My ancestor, I actually became a Divine Emperor? This is incredible. The strength of the Tao Ancestor is really terrifying, too powerful. Admiration was written all over Li Jing's face. In addition to him, there were Yang Jian, Neza, and Jiang Zia, who became Divine Emperors. And Jiang Zia even became a second-grade Divine Emperor. The green divine ring on his head was like wearing a big green hat. Zheng. The sound of the zither continued to ring, circling around Qian Su and the others. Kacha! The realm membrane on Qian Su's body exploded like firecrackers. Finally, it also reached the Divine Emperor realm before stopping. After Sun Hao stopped playing the zither, the people sitting in front of Sun Hao, except for Chunya, everyone else reached the Divine Emperor realm. Even the two pole guardians were the same. Such a scene strongly stimulated the eyes of the onlookers. Everyone stared at this scene blankly, revealing unbelievable surprise. For a long time, the sound of inhaling cold air came one after another. My old ma, this is incredible. The mysterious young master can actually create divine emperors in batches. Too powerful. Incredible. I can't imagine. I want to surrender to the mysterious young master. Just you come on. I want to be a servant of the mysterious young master. Exclamations sounded constantly. Everyone's eyes were fixed on those divine emperors, showing incomparable envy. The whole scene did not calm down for a long time. In addition to the onlookers, the 100,000 heavenly soldiers were also extremely envious. Many people secretly clenched their fists and secretly decided to accumulate military merits. Thank you, Tao Ancestor. Thank you, young master. Thank you, Master Ancestor. Everyone crawled in front of Sun Hao, kowtowing and saluting. Get up. Sun Hao nodded slightly and took back the ancient zither. Everyone got up and looked at Sun Hao gratefully. Who? Sun Hao stretched out his finger and pointed at them. The divine rings behind them drilled into their bodies at a speed visible to the naked eye and disappeared. It really looks like the divine king realm. The Tao Ancestors' means are incredible. In this world, the most powerful is the Tao Ancestor. Sun Hao looked at them and nodded slightly. From now on, your immortal emperor power is hidden in my body, and it will only erupt when I encounter a fatal crisis. Next, I have one thing to tell you. Chapter 509. At the center of the Shadow Realm. This place had been set up by Sun Hao. At this moment, Sun Hao sat cross-legged in the middle. Beside him was six-eared macaque and the others. Young master, the Earth realm is different from the human realm. The rules of the human world are not applicable there. Xiaofan said. Hearing this, Sun Hao instantly understood. So, with my current ability, I may not be able to use it there? Not bad. Xiaofan nodded her head. Also, the Earth boundary has baleful yin qi. If one's physical body touches it, they will definitely turn into ashes. Only souls can enter, Xiaofan said. So, you asked me to arrange this soul outer ray to let my soul enter the Earth realm? Sun Hao asked. Not bad, young master, because you died an unnatural death. All of your souls have 3 balls of yang flame, one on each of your shoulders and one on your head. After you enter the land domain, you must not turn your head or lower your head. Otherwise, these 3 yang flames will be able to resist all evil auras. Only you can extinguish them. If these 3 yang flames are extinguished, you will never be able to return. Only if you can break through the laws of the land and become a supreme existence can you come out. Xiaofan said each sentence seriously. Hearing Sun Hao's ears, his face was also full of solemnity. Don't worry, I will pay attention. Sun Hao nodded. Young master, why don't I go in with Xiaofan? You don't have to take this risk. Xiaofan said. There's no need for that. I'm also worried if you guys go in. All of you just stay here and guard my body. In addition, I still need you to take care of the matters between Xiang Star and the human world. Sun Hao said. Young master, don't worry, we will. Everyone nodded in unison, their faces solemn. Sun Hao saw the changes in everyone's faces and breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally reached this step after all this time. He would be able to revive Ru Meng soon. Rama, I'll be done soon. Sun Hao closed his eyes and opened the array. Buzz. The formation lit up with a dazzling light and circled around Sun Hao. What Sun Hao and others didn't know was that in the void, a transparent, smiling face slowly emerged. After looking at Sun Hao, it slowly disappeared. Phew! Sun Hao only felt that the sky and earth were spinning, and his soul left his body and flew toward the ground. Buzz! He entered a door of light and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in a chaotic space. This place was hazy and looked very unreal. Suddenly, a burst of strange laughter sounded. This burst of laughter carried a harsh, high-frequency sound, which made Sun Hao's ears extremely uncomfortable. When Sun Hao heard this, he couldn't help but frown, showing a painful expression. Buzz! Suddenly, a transparent figure appeared behind Sun Hao. The sound made Sun Hao's scalp numb. When he turned around, he didn't see anything. The lamp on his right shoulder was blown out by him. On the left, the strange laughter appeared again. Many evil spirits appeared on his left and kept hitting his shoulder. It was as if it wanted to extinguish his left shoulder as well. I can't move. I definitely can't move. Otherwise, I won't be able to get out. Sun Hao muttered to himself, thinking secretly. No matter how the evil voices sounded, he didn't care and continued walking forward. Young master. Suddenly, Huang Ruming's voice rang in his left ear. Hearing this sound, Sun Hao looked back and found nothing. Since then, the 2 yang fires had been blown out by him. From now on, there was only 1 yang fire left on his head. If it was extinguished again, the consequences would be unimaginable. Damn it, I was fooled. Sun Hao cursed and thought it was not good. He took steady steps and walked forward. Every step was extremely stable, and he didn't dare to slack off. He turned a deaf ear to the small sounds and the voices of his relatives. The more he walked forward, the stronger these sounds became. Boom! Suddenly a ghost hand grabbed his right leg. The yang fire on his head burned on the ghost hand, giving off bursts of black smoke. However, even if this ghost hand was burned into nothingness, it didn't mean to let go. After this ghostly hand was burned clean, the other ghostly hand grabbed his right leg. More and more ghost hands drilled out of the ground, grabbed his 2 legs, and pulled them to the ground. Sun Hao's center of gravity was unstable, and he accidentally fell to the ground. Boom! The yang fire on his head was extinguished. Without the protection of the yang fire, a group of evil spirits quickly rushed forward. Gotcha! One by one, they opened their bloody mouths and bit hard at Sun Hao's soul. Gotcha! There was a burst of chewing sound. The pain of the soul tearing made Sun Hao scream again and again, and he soon lost consciousness. Soon after, Sun Hao's soul was divided up by this group of evil spirits. Above the void, a transparent, smiling face slowly condensed and formed. He glanced at Sun Hao's position, showing a smug smile at the corner of his mouth. Hee, I didn't expect you to really dare to come to the Earth realm. In that case, you will stay here forever. The smiling face spoke human language and blew into the chaotic space, and the evil spirits on the ground disappeared instantly. All around, calm was restored. The Earth realm, on a certain planet, in a jungle. Skeletons were everywhere, and above each skeleton, there was a ball of soul flame. These soul flames were weak and strong, big and small. Each ball of soul flame could control a skeleton to avoid carefully. Oh, on this day, a ball of soul flame fell from the sky and landed on a leaf. It was grayish-white, faintly discernible, and extremely weak. If you don't look carefully, you can't sense it at all. This ball of soul flame attached to the leaf, motionless, and seemed to be searching for something. Who am I? Why am I here? Where is this? What am I doing here? A series of questions appeared above this ball of soul flame. However, Gotcha! A burst of footsteps sounded. A humanoid skeleton came forward, picked up the leaf, opened its bloody mouth, and sucked hard. Buzz! The soul flame flew out uncontrollably and was sucked into the mouth of the humanoid skeleton. Then, it merged with the soul flame of the humanoid skeleton, indistinguishable from each other. The humanoid skeleton nodded in satisfaction, and the soul flame was burning vigorously. The soul flame in the eye sockets swept, and the other skeletons around retreated, not daring to look at it. Suddenly, boom! The humanoid skeleton fell to the ground, holding its head with its white bone claws, and kept struggling. Squeak! The soul flame trembled rapidly, as if making bursts of mournful screams, resounding all around. After a while, the humanoid skeleton stood up. There was a trace of clarity in the 2 soul flames. P.S. Asking for monthly votes. Chapter 510. I am Sun Hao. I am from the human world. I came to the underworld sea to find Ru Ming's soul fragment. I have become like this now. It must be a dark, taboo method. It seems that it wants me to stay in the underworld forever and never go out. If that's the case, then I will control this realm and become the master of the realm. Sun Hao thought secretly, and the soul flame in his eyes flashed with a strange light. Not only did he recover his memory, but he also gained a lot of memories from devouring his soul just now. At present, he was in a jungle. This jungle was called the Dead Forest Sea. There were only endless skeletons and soul flames. If he wanted to survive here, he could only survive by constantly devouring other soul flames. The stronger he was, the greater the chance of survival. Moreover, Sun Hao now had the ability to use the soul flame to sense all movements within 200 meters around him, perceive danger in advance, and then escape. When the soul flame was weak to a certain extent, it would not be able to control the skeleton and could only become the food of other undead creatures. The undead creatures were from weak to strong, respectively from 1st to 9th rank. And now his strength was just at the early stage of 1st rank. It was just that Sun Hao was surrounded by some undead creatures below the 1st rank. As long as Sun Hao walked forward, these creatures would be afraid to avoid him and flee far away. Originally, there were many undead creatures within 100 meters. At this moment, Sun Hao found that there was not even a skeleton monster. Within 200 meters, he could see some undead creatures. So, I can sense 200 meters, and undead creatures without ranks can only sense danger within a radius of 100 meters. They're all afraid of me. With a move of his mind, Sun Hao urged the soul flame and walked forward. However, after a few steps, Sun Hao stopped, because he found that every time he urged the soul flame would weaken a little. It seemed that controlling the skeleton through the soul flame required the consumption of the soul flame. Continue. You are afraid of me. Then let me devour you. After speaking, Sun Hao took a step and rushed forward. He didn't care about the soul flame consumption at all. Soon, he caught a beast-shaped undead creature, opened his mouth, and sucked hard. Without any accident, Sun Hao successfully devoured it, resisted the consumption, and the soul flame strengthened a little. Not bad, continue. Sun Hao stepped forward and continued to run forward. Soon, another human-shaped skeleton fell under Sun Hao's mouth and was swallowed clean. In this way, Sun Hao wandered around the jungle, frantically devouring the soul flames. 2 days later, Tier 2, sensing the green soul flame in his head frame, Sun Hao nodded secretly. I can sense everything within a 500-meter radius. This feels really good. Sun Hao clenched the white bone claw, and the soul flame kept trembling. An excited look appeared on his face. For the past 2 days, he felt like he was dreaming. He didn't expect himself to become an undead creature. Since the taboo of darkness wanted to trap him, then he definitely couldn't let it have its way. Sizzle. Suddenly, the sound of electricity rang out. Sun Hao was shocked. With a thought, he sensed that his soul was emitting waves of green lightning. The terrifying power made Sun Hao's soul flame change slightly, and he was pleasantly surprised. This is Thunder Soul. I didn't expect that I would evolve into a Thunder Soul. Through the memory of the skeleton's previous life, Sun Hao learned that there were many levels of soul flames, and this Thunder Soul was one of them. It possessed the ability to tear other souls apart. It could be said that it was invincible in the same rank. Even a cross-rank challenge was not impossible. Hey, within a radius of 300 meters, why is there no undead creature? Is it because I evolved into a Thunder Soul that the undead creatures within a radius of 300 meters can sense it, and they have an instinctive fear and flee frantically? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's heart was suddenly enlightened. If all the undead creatures fled because of his buff, it would be meaningless. This ability must be hidden. Sun Hao's thoughts moved. Collect. His words were followed. It turned out that the lightning in his soul had completely disappeared in an instant. After a while, the low-level undead creatures appeared within 100 meters of him. Sure enough, the corners of Sun Hao's mouth rose, showing a proud look. Now, try to capture the 3rd-tier undead creatures, so that I can grow up quickly. Sun Hao thought secretly, and with a thought, he scanned the area within a radius of 500 meters. However, after walking for a long time, he only saw the 2nd-tier undead creatures, and not a single 3rd-tier one. These 2nd-tier undead creatures were extremely intelligent. When they saw him, they ran for their lives. He could catch up, but the soul flame would be almost consumed. Even if he swallowed the second-tier undead creature, he was afraid that he could not make up for it. He couldn't do this kind of thing that was not worth the loss. What was the way to lure them over? Sun Hao thought secretly and began to think about countermeasures. After a while, he raised his eyebrows and came up with a plan. First, Sun Hao found a skull from the ground, then held the skull in his hand and looked at it carefully. I will separate a part of the soul flame and put it in it. I think it can lure other second-tier undead creatures to come. Thinking of this, Sun Hao's thoughts moved and slowly separated a wisp of flame soul. Pain, endless pain. This kind of pain was comparable to tearing the soul, and the pain was endless. He didn't expect that after he died, he would still feel this kind of pain. However, Sun Hao did not stop. For him, the pain was no longer enough. A moment later, a wisp of soul flame was separated. This wisp of soul flame was bright white, and it was not ordinary. It looked like a first-tier high undead creature. After doing this, Sun Hao's body slowly hid behind a boulder. Then, he converged his breath. Sun Hao crawled on the ground and waited quietly. Time passed little by little. There were many second-tier undead creatures wandering around, but they did not come forward. Sun Hao sensed this scene, and the corner of his mouth raised a faint smile. Now, it was a competition of whose patience was better. Sun Hao crawled behind the boulder and waited quietly. Soon after, tap tap, 11 undead creatures stepped forward at the same time and rushed straight to where Sun Hao was. These undead creatures were beast-shaped and humanoid. Each of them used all their means and pounced on the trap where Sun Hao was. Seeing this scene, the corner of Sun Hao's mouth rose. When they went to fight for the skull, Sun Hao jumped up like a tiger pouncing on its prey and went straight to the 11 undead creatures. Boom! Like Mount Tai pressing down, Sun Hao threw the 11 undead creatures to the ground in an instant. Then, he quickly grabbed the head of a humanoid skeleton creature and twisted it hard. Chapter 511. Bang! Sun Hao grabbed a human-shaped skeleton, pulled it hard, and broke its head off at once. Then he opened his bloody mouth and sucked hard. A ball of soul flame was swallowed into Sun Hao's soul flame. Squeak! The soul flame let out a series of whistling sounds and struggled unceasingly. However, in Sun Hao's soul flame, a ray of electric light flashed, instantly wiping out the consciousness of this soul flame, leaving only incomparably pure soul energy. Such a scene directly scared the other undead in place. Bang! They struggled frantically as if to break free from Sun Hao's body. However, it was not easy to suppress them. How could Sun Hao let them escape? He gritted his teeth and squeezed out all his strength to press on them. Kacha! Another beast-shaped undead creature's head was pulled off, and at the same time, it opened its mouth and sucked. Without any accident, he swallowed this soul flame. After swallowing 2 undead creatures in a row, Sun Hao's strength greatly increased, and those undead creatures could not struggle at all. Kacha! Kacha! Such sounds rang continuously. 11 undead creatures, without any accident, were all swallowed by Sun Hao. Tongue, the soul flame in Sun Hao's eye sockets turned from pale green to green. It looked like the grass in summer, lush and green. His strength had increased a lot. However, there was still a long way to go from the 3rd stage. Now I definitely have the strength to challenge the early stage of the 3rd stage. Sun Hao muttered to himself, secretly clenching the white bone hand. I can release it for a distance of 1 kilometer. Sun Hao thought, scanning the entire jungle. Suddenly, his soul flame trembled, extremely excited. He saw a blue flame undead creature. It was a human-shaped skeleton holding a black sickle, and the black gas on its body fluttered, looking a bit strange. Within a radius of 500 meters of this human-shaped skeleton, no undead creatures dared to approach. It looked like a king, making people afraid to approach. 3rd stage, Sun Hao thought. This undead creature did not find him. It showed that its soul flame was not as strong as his own. In that case, he would swallow it. He must be able to break through to the third stage. Thinking like this, Sun Hao picked up the skull on the ground, divided 10% of the soul flame, and released it inside. They looked like grade 2 undead creatures with skulls. Again, Sun Hao found a place to hide in the same way, and then threw the skull in a place where the tier 3 undead creature could sweep. Next, there was only one secret, and that was to wait. Time slowly passed. The tier 3 undead creature had extraordinary intelligence, and it did not approach. Instead, it watched from afar. After several probing attempts, the undead creature came a little closer. It was getting closer and closer to the skull thrown by Sun Hao. At the same time, he quickly retreated. It took dozens of rounds in a row to get close to the skull thrown by Sun Hao. Then he picked it up. Just as he was about to devour it, Sun Hao stepped out and jumped directly towards the tier 3 undead creature. Looking at the blue soul flame in its eye sockets, its eyes shone with a strange light. Seeing this scene, the tier 3 undead creature smirked. Yes, he was smiling. At the moment when Sun Hao rushed over, he twisted and avoided Sun Hao's fatal blow. At the same time, he waved the sickle in his hand and slashed Sun Hao. Ding! With a crisp sound, Sun Hao's entire waist was cut off. Bang! His whole body fell straight down. Not good. Sun Hao's idea had just risen. His skull hit the ground hard, separated from the body skeleton, and rolled far away. Without the support of his body, he couldn't walk and could only quickly escape the place by rolling. However, how could the tier 3 undead creature give him a chance? It jumped up, waved the black sickle, and slashed on Sun Hao's skull, directly picking up Sun Hao's skull. Squeak! The tier 3 undead creature let out a burst of strange cries and seemed to be laughing proudly. It's over. Sun Hao's heart was dead. He was careless. He underestimated the wisdom of these undead creatures. Undead creatures that could grow to the 3rd tier all possessed extraordinary intelligence. What's more, he only used the skull to attract it. How could it not be suspicious? AI. Sun Hao sighed secretly and gave up struggling. Who? The tier 3 undead creature opened its big mouth and sucked hard. Sun Hao's 2 soul flames were all swallowed into his eye sockets. They merged with his own. After a while, a ray of electric light lit up. The tier 3 undead creature fell to the ground and kept struggling. Wherever his body went, the stones broke one after another. The trees were all broken, and it looked extremely terrifying. Squeak! It let out a gradually strange scream as if it had suffered great pain. After a while, it gradually gave up struggling and stood up. Tier 3 undead creature. No, it should be Sun Hao. He stood in place for a long time before calming down. Everything just now was really too dangerous. If he didn't have the Thunderlight, he would have been the one being devoured. Such a big risk. He should take less risks in the future. Light blue. I finally reached tier 3. Sun Hao nodded secretly. With a move of his mind, the soul flame could scan a distance of 5 kilometers. Within a distance of 5 kilometers, Sun Hao found many tier 3 undead creatures. This body of mine is much stronger than my original one, and the owner of this body actually has a secret method of refining bones, which I can use. A powerful skeleton is equivalent to a flesh body, and the soul flame is equivalent to a spell. Only when both are strong can I survive better. Next, I will start to refine the bones. Sun Hao thought secretly and made a decision. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to refine the bones according to the secret method. Wisps of blue soul flame flowed from the skull and spread throughout the bones of the whole body. Sun Hao's bones turned light blue at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a while, Sun Hao stood up. It's done. The tier 3 skeleton is several times stronger than before. Ordinary tier 3 undead creatures are no longer my opponents. Now I need less soul flame to control my body. This can also be counted as growth. Sun Hao thought secretly, looking excited. Then, he took a step forward and walked forward. After he was a certain distance from the tier 3 undead creature, the Tier 3 undead creature ran desperately away from Sun Hao. It looked as if it had seen the most terrifying creature in the world. Am I so scary, no? Frightening a ghost? It ran away so far away. Sun Hao shook his head for a while. Then, he changed his direction and ran toward another Tier 3 undead creature. However, he only ran 2 steps and quickly stopped. Within the range of the soul flame, he found several Tier 4 undead creatures, and these undead creatures were running towards him without a care for their lives. Seeing the next scene, Sun Hao couldn't help but feel numb, although he had no scalp. Chapter 512. Suddenly, Sun Hao's scalp was numb, and there was a trace of shock in the soul flame. He saw that in front of him, several rank 4 undead creatures were fleeing desperately, and the direction of flight was exactly where he was. Not good. Sun Hao hurriedly found a stone wall, converged his breath, and hid close to the stone wall. Several gusts of wind passed, and several rank 4 undead creatures flashed past him as if they didn't find Sun Hao. Sun Hao took a long sigh of relief. When he was about to stand up, his body couldn't help but tremble, and he quickly leaned down. A breeze drifted by. A humanoid skeleton with golden light all over its body leaped over Sun Hao's head. This humanoid skeleton held a black claw in its hand. The claw emitted a metallic luster, and the other end was connected to an iron chain. The moment he saw this humanoid skeleton, Sun Hao broke into a cold sweat and thought it was not good. Claw of the undead. Sun Hao blurted out, finding information about this skeleton from the memories of other skeletons. The claw of the undead was the Lord's claws, dedicated to serving the Lord, hunting and catching prey for the Lord to enjoy the soul flame. Buzz! The claw of the undead glanced and stared directly at Sun Hao. At this moment, Sun Hao felt the hair all over his body standing up, and his body trembled uncontrollably. He couldn't produce any resistance in his heart. If it was a physical body, he would be sweating wildly. Fortunately, the claw of the undead just glanced at Sun Hao and floated away. A moment later, boom, boom, a loud noise came from a distance. The whole mountain forest fell down in pieces. Broken branches and dust were flying everywhere. The whole earth was shaking. Sensing this scene, Sun Hao was shocked. Is this the combat power of the rank 5 undead? That's really strong. The current me can't compete with it at all. Fortunately, I can't enter the opponent's eyes. Otherwise, I really don't know how to die. Sun Hao took a step and was about to escape. A gust of wind blew. The claw of the undead was flying, quickly running past Sun Hao. Sun Hao squinted at the claw of the undead, and the soul flame jumped rapidly. He saw there were a few skulls on the claw of the undead's chest. Faint purple soul flames were floating in the skulls. From time to time, it would howl, as if it was struggling with its fate. These skulls belonged to the Tier 4 undead creatures that had run past him. Who would have thought that they wouldn't even be able to last a single breath before they all fell into the hands of the claw of the undead? In the end, they could only become the Lord's food. Suddenly, the claw of the undead swept its gaze and stared directly at Sun Hao. This stare was like the stare of a devil beast from hell. Sun Hao's heart sank to hell again, and his body kept trembling. Thunder Soul? Very good. I'll let you grow for a period of time first. Then I'll reap the harvest. With that, the claw of the undead sped away and soon disappeared. If he had a physical body, Sun Hao's clothes would be wet at this moment. It was too terrifying. Just a single glance from the other party was enough to render him completely powerless. If he were to face it head-on, he wouldn't even be able to last an instant. Now, he had already been targeted by it. After a period of time, it would surely come to harvest him. At that time, how should he face it? A sense of urgency surged through his body. Sun Hao searched the memory of the undead creature that he had devoured, and soon he learned a lot of information. Now, his location was called the Een Ghost Forest, which was the territory of a rank 8 undead creature, the Een Ghost. Under the Een Ghost, there were 4 rank 7 undead creatures, known as the 4 Great Generals. Under the 4 Great Generals, there were also many minions. Among them, the Claw of the Undead was one of them. At the level of Ian Ghost, the soul flame needed to be consumed every day was calculated in massive quantities. And the Claw of the Undead was an army that searched for food for the Ian Ghost. However, just a few Tier 4 undead creatures have been snatched away like food. It could be said that the Claw of the Undead was the nightmare of the undead, and anyone who saw it would be afraid to avoid it. Thinking of this, Sunhouse secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he had not broken through to the 4th rank. Otherwise, he would definitely become the food of the Ian Ghost today. In this place, there would be no more Claw of the Undead for the time being. Presumably, after a month, the Claw of the Undead would continue to come to plunder food. He must break through to the 5th or even the 6th rank within a month. Now that he had a vision, the next step was to act. Sunhouse's mind swept and scanned within a radius of 5 kilometers. There's a rank 2 over there. Without any hesitation, Sunhouse stepped forward and rushed towards a humanoid skeleton. Boom! With a punch, the humanoid skeleton's body was smashed apart in an instant. The head rolled on the ground and was picked up by Sunhouse. Squeak! The humanoid skeleton was very weak. In Sunhouse's white bone hands, it struggled frantically and kept making sharp screams. Devour! Sunhouse didn't give the humanoid skeleton too much chance. He sucked hard. The soul flame in its skull flew out and merged with Sunhouse's soul flame. During the fusion process, the humanoid skeleton's soul flame kept struggling. However, after Sunhouse released a wisp of electric light, it instantly lost consciousness and was devoured by Sunhouse. Sunhouse's soul flame grew a little bigger. Although the enhancement is not much, this soul flame can last me for 3 days. Continue, Sunhouse secretly said, and at the same time, he moved forward again. In this way, Sunhouse was like a god of slaughter, but he didn't let go of any undead creature above the 2nd rank. No one could withstand Sunhouse's blow. Any struggle was futile in front of the thunderlight. Time flew, and 5 days passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, after Sunhouse devoured the soul flames of hundreds of 2nd-grade undead creatures. Kacha! The sound of an eggshell breaking rang out. The membrane of the realm that bound Sunhouse's soul flame instantly shattered. Now, the soul flame in his skull had turned into a bright purple color. Purple lightning swam around the soul flame, bursting forth with great power. Suddenly, Sunhouse's soul flame trembled for a while. He was surprised to find that there was a trace of purple fire in the purple lightning. In other words, Sunhouse's soul already had 2 attributes of thunder and fire. Moreover, thunder and fire were merged together and could not be distinguished from each other at all. Compared with the previous Thunder Soul, its power was several times stronger. Now, facing the Claw of the Undead, he already had the power to fight, and there was no need to be so thrilling. Claw of the Undead, I really hope you will appear soon. The battle between you and me, that's sooner or later, Sunhouse thought secretly, and there was a trace of expectation in the soul flame. Maybe he could kill the Claw of the Undead, but he would face countless claws of the undead, and even the undead general would appear. At that time, how should he face it? The most important thing now was to improve his strength. Chapter 513. 10 days later, Sunhouse stood in the same place with an excited look. The soul flame in his skull had turned dark purple. Who, above the soul flame, purple electric light mixed with purple flame, galloping on it from time to time, bursting out with heart-stopping power. The peak of the 4th rank, only 1 step away from reaching the 5th rank. Try to reach the 5th rank today, Sunhouse muttered to himself, thinking secretly. This thought just came up. A gust of wind passed. Sunhouse looked back, and his whole body trembled involuntarily. He saw, in front of him, a Claw of the Undead appeared at some point. Jia, I didn't expect you to grow so fast. Fortunately, I came early, otherwise, I really can't cure you. The Claw of the Undead let out a burst of strange laughter, showing a look of eating Sunhouse. Claw of the Undead. Sunhouse stared at the Claw of the Undead, not daring to be careless. Ding! The Claw of the Undead dragged the iron chain, and the long hook rubbed against the ground, making a burst of metal collision sound. Whoosh! A sound of breaking through the air sounded. The claw of the undead took the lead to launch an attack, holding the black hook in its hand with a strange black mist, rushing straight to Sun Hao. The whole space was distorted as if it was about to be deformed. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly stepped away and jumped up. Boom! The tree where Sun Hao was torn into pieces by the black hook claws, bursting out with a huge roar. Jia. The claw of the undead let out a howl, as if laughing heartily. Little guy, you can actually avoid it. It's a bit interesting. Next, I'm going to get serious. After speaking, the claw of the undead waved the hook claws in its hand and moved rapidly with its body. Every movement was extremely strange and tricky, making Sun Hao unable to guard against it. Fortunately, Sun Hao narrowly avoided the claw of the undead's attack again and again. They stopped at the same time, staring at each other, not daring to be careless. I didn't expect it to be beyond my expectations. It seems that devouring your soul fire can help me break through to the 6th rank. The claw of the undead smiled slightly and rushed forward again. The claw in its hand split into several in an instant, shrouding Sun Hao in all directions. Every position was sealed, so that Sun Hao had nowhere to hide. Boom! There were no surprises. Sun Hao was bound by several hooked claws, and in an instant he was pulled to the front of the claw of the undead. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Sun Hao's head was broken off by the claws of the undead. Squeak! Sun Hao's soul flame struggled wildly, trembling violently as if it was afraid. Little guy, don't be afraid. It'll be quick. I know you have a thunder soul, so don't waste your energy. This is the Thunder Extermination Netherworld herb that I specially prepared for you. After saying that, the claw of the undead took out a pitch-black herb, put it in its mouth, and sucked hard. Phew! A black barrier covered the soul flames of the claw of the undead. This barrier seemed to be able to block all lightning. Tiske, little fellow, be good, you're mine. The claw of the undead opened its bloody mouth and sucked hard at Sun Hao's skull. Phew! Sun Hao's soul flame flew out uncontrollably and poured into the skull of the undead claw. Sizzle! The lightning in the soul flame kept sizzling, but it was blocked by the black barrier. Finally, the two soul flames slowly merged together. Tisk. What a rich soul flame, no worse than the peak of the 5th rank. Now, it's not a problem for me to break through to the 6th rank. The claw of the undead smiled proudly. Suddenly, his body trembled. Not good. This is the soul of thunder fire. How is this possible? No. An unwilling shout came to an abrupt end. The claw of the undead. No, it should be said that Sun Hao was more accurate. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to merge the two soul flames. The original golden soul flame was changing rapidly. Finally, it turned into a light orange. Phew! Among the soul flames, there was another element wind. The 3 elements merged together and could not be distinguished from each other. Done! Sun Hao stood up, and the soul flame jumped quickly. He looked up and down at this new body, and his eyes bloomed with a strange light. What was devoured was not only the soul flame of the claw of the undead, but also his memory and ability. No wonder this claw of the undead is so fast. It turns out that he is the wind soul. Now, with my thunder and fire elements, the power has increased several times again. Given my speed, I'm sure there's no wind as well. Thinking like this, Sun Hao took a step and leaped hard. His body was like the wind, fast as lightning. This speed was many times faster than before. Moreover, the number of soul flames needed was less. This body has been tempered to the peak of the 5th rank. Not bad. This claw is a treasure. Sun Hao took the hook claw in his hand and looked at it. Whoosh! He threw it out and hooked it directly on a big tree. Boom! The big tree was directly torn apart. I wonder if I can release the 3 elements of thunder, fire, and wind on this hook claw. Thinking like this, Sun Hao's mind moved. A claw blasted out. The 3 elements were released on it and merged with the claw, and it was as fast as the wind blasted out in an instant. Boom! There was an explosion. A huge pit with a radius of 5 meters burst out on the ground. The terrifying power made Sun Hao stunned for a while. The power is so strong. I'm afraid I have the power to fight in the face of the 7th rank, but I don't know how strong the 8th rank Lord. Evil Ghost is? Do you want to seize the position of Lord? Forget it. It's better to hide first. Sun Hao thought secretly and stepped forward. Boom! Suddenly, a dull explosion came from a distance. The whole earth was shaking violently, as if a terrifying explosion had occurred. Is the 7th rank fighting? Could it be that something has appeared? Sun Hao thought secretly, stepped forward, and ran forward. Like a gust of wind, Sun Hao disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he had come to the source of the explosion. Seeing the scene in front of him, Sun Hao's soul flame burst out with a strange light. He saw a beast-shaped skeleton monster was fighting with a humanoid skeleton monster. Both of their skulls were blooming with crimson light. 7th rank. Seeing these two soul flames, Sun Hao couldn't help but exclaim. Two peak 7th rank monsters were fighting. Boom! Boom! Every time they collided, a soul-stirring bang rang out. The whole earth was shaking violently. The terrifying power made Sun Hao's scalp numb. Not far from the center of the battle between the two monsters, a white flower strongly attracted Sun Hao's eyes. He could confirm that if he swallowed that white flower, his strength would definitely reach the 7th rank. Soul-devouring dark flower. Sun Hao exclaimed. He hid in the dark, quietly waiting for the opportunity. And like him, there were many 6th rank skeleton monsters hiding in the dark around. Chapter 514. Boom! The battle continued, and the two rank 7 undead creatures fought fiercely for this soul-devouring dark flower. The terrifying explosion was earth-shattering. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao was secretly shocked. Strong, too strong. Sun Hao carefully hid behind an ancient tree. He sensed all movements within a radius of 100 miles. His strength broke through 2 realms in a row, and Sun Hao's sensing range was greatly improved. Sun Hao found that within 100 miles, in addition to the 2 fighting skeletons, there was a group of skeletons hiding in the dark like himself. Moreover, there were 2 or 3 rank 7 skeletons leading an army, rushing here quickly. It seemed that their goal was this soul-devouring dark flower. Looking at their appearance, this army must be the subordinates of the evil ghost. At their speed, they will arrive here in 10 minutes. At that time, this soul-devouring dark flower will definitely belong to the evil ghost. Sun Hao thought secretly. Looking at the hiding soul-devouring dark flower, his eyes bloomed with a strange light. If he could get it, he would be able to break through to rank 7, and he would have the power to protect himself in this ghost forest. What can I do? Sun Hao looked at the 2 rank 7 skeletons fighting and couldn't help but frown. He still had the power to fight against one. Facing 2, it was absolutely a dead end. Looking at their current appearance, they didn't do their best at all. If they continued to fight like this for a long time, the outcome would not be decided. At that time, where would they get their share? Right. In Sun Hao's eyes, the soul flames' eyes shone. General Zheng Gui is coming with the army, and he will arrive here in a moment. General Zheng, Sun Hao repeated this sentence. His voice vibrated out and clearly passed into the ears of the 2 rank 7 monsters. The originally calm battle instantly stirred up waves. Boom! Boom! The sound of battle explosions kept ringing. The terrifying aftermath made people's scalp explode. The 2 skeletons had already used all their strength, madly attacking each other. At the same time, they rushed to the soul-devouring dark flower. Boom! There was a loud noise and the world shook. The 2 skeletons' bodies staggered straight back and hit the ground heavily. Good chance. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao didn't hesitate. He used the wind element, turned into an afterimage, and went straight to the soul-devouring dark flower. Phew! On the other side, another undead claw turned into a blur as it pounced towards the soul-devourer dark flower. This claw of the undead, the soul flame and dark orange, was a bit stronger than Sun Hao's realm. At the same time, it also possessed the wind spirit. His speed was comparable to Sun Hao's. Damn it! Sun Hao cursed inwardly and increased his speed to the extreme, pouncing straight towards the soul, devouring underworld flower. Boom! Sun Hao waved his hook claw and blasted it at the claw of the undead. Sizzle, wind, fire, and lightning. The three elements swam around the hook, releasing a soul-shaking aura. Bang! When it came into contact with the claw of the undead, it directly smashed its body into pieces. Then, it retracted the hook and brought the head of the claw of the undead back. He pinned the claw of the undead's head to the back of his head, and then extended his hook and clawed forward. Swish! In an instant, he put away the soul-devouring underworld flower. His movements were as smooth as flowing water, without the slightest pause. After putting away the soul-devouring dark flower, Sun Hao stepped forward, turned into a gust of wind, and ran away quickly. Roar! When the two rank 7 undead creatures saw him, they let out an unwilling roar, struggled to get up, took a step, and rushed straight after Sun Hao. However, compared with Sun Hao, the speed of the two of them was far worse, and they soon lost track of him. Roar! The two rank 7 undead creatures roared again and again, and they were so angry that they stamped their feet in place. Kid, this seat will remember you. Next time, I will devour you. Kid, don't run away if you have guts. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao smiled coldly and didn't care at all. The next time they met, it was still uncertain who would devour who. As Sun Hao ran, he ordered the soul-devouring underworld flower to look at it in his hand. Good stuff. There's a kind of resonance with my soul. After devouring it, it will be greatly enhanced. Sun Hao thought secretly, and his eyes bloomed with a strange light. Not good. Suddenly, Sun Hao's soul flame picked up, and a sense of uneasiness emerged in his heart. At this moment, he felt that he was locked by a powerful aura. In front of this aura, he was like an ant, and he could not resist. Is it the Een Ghost Lord? Impossible. The aura of the Een Ghost Lord is stronger. Is it really the Zhang Gui general? Thinking of this, Sun Hao's scalp was numb. Without thinking about it, he quickly ran toward a place. He burned the soul flame frantically and ran desperately. If he had a heart, he was afraid that it would jump out of his throat. After a while, Sun Hao stopped on a mountain peak and looked back dozens of miles away, extremely dignified. That aura is getting closer and closer to me. That is to say, his speed is no less than mine. If this goes on, he will catch up with me sooner or later. It's not good to devour it first, and take advantage of this time to upgrade a level so that I can fight. Sun Hao hurriedly sat cross-legged on the ground, holding the soul-devouring underworld flower and sucking it hard. OM! There was a shock, and his mind buzzed as if it was about to explode. A terrifying energy, like a tsunami, surged towards Sun Hao's mind. Pain, endless pain surged through his mind. His soul felt like it was about to be torn, and the pain made the soul flame seem to be extinguished. Sun Hao gritted his teeth and let this force collide with his soul flame. At this moment, his soul flame was like a candle in the wind, a small boat in the sea, and it would overturn at any time. If an undead creature came to attack at this moment, maybe Sun Hao would end up dead. Time passed little by little, and the soul flame in Sun Hao's skull was also getting stronger and stronger, from light orange to orange, from orange to dark orange. However, it was not over, as if it had just begun. Kacha! The sound of an egg shell cracking rang out. The realm membrane on Sun Hao's body cracked. At this moment, his soul flame changed from orange to light red. Wisps of red electric light sprang up above the soul flame, bursting with terrifying power, making people dare not look directly at it. In the red electric light, wind, fire, metal, wood, earth, lightning, light, darkness, all kinds of elements intertwined in the soul sea, connected together, bursting out a terrifying aura. Sun Hao's devouring of the soul, devouring underworld flower was still not over. It was also at this moment. Dang dang. A rush of footsteps came quickly, and Sun Hao was surrounded in an instant. They were all riding skeleton beasts, which were covered with thick black iron armor. The dark black metallic luster looked indestructible. It looked like a group of dark knights. The leader was dressed in pitch-black bright armor. The red soul flame penetrated from his eye sockets with a breathtaking aura. "My lord, let me do it." A dark knight came out. "No." The leader waved his hand to stop the dark knight from attacking. Chapter 5:15. Somewhere in the west of the Ghost Forest. Here, there was an extremely dense gray mist. The ground was humid, and there was a rancid smell in the air from time to time. In the thick mist, a three-colored light came out of it, with an infinitely terrifying deterrent force. Following this three-colored light through the gray mist, it was found that this three-colored light was emitted from a humanoid skeleton. The golden skeleton sat on a boulder, and even if it sat up, its body was still 2 meters high. In its hand, it held a black sword with a three-colored stream of light, and its whole body was covered with black armor. Although the armor was a little shabby, and there were even some holes in many places, it did not affect the majestic momentum of the humanoid skeleton. It was the lord of this 1,000-mile radius, Ghost. In front of it stood 4 skeletons glowing with red light. Each skeleton was holding a spear like a general. I have a feeling of uneasiness. Zheng Gui's work is not reliable. Who is willing to pick up Zheng Gui? Ghost looked at the 4 people and said, "My lord, we are willing." The 4 red skeletons knelt down and kowtowed in salute. "Soul Suppressor, you go to the south. There is a soul-devouring dark flower swallowed by a bug. You go and catch him." Ghost showed an irresistible majesty. "Yes, my lord." Soul Suppressor quickly got up and retreated. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Sun Hao sat cross-legged on the ground, looking like he was cultivating seriously. Beside him, dozens of dark knights surrounded him. Within a radius of 10 miles, no undead creatures dared to approach. Sun Hao didn't know about these at all. At this moment, he was absorbing with all his strength. There was a shock. Sun Hao's soul flame turned dark red. At this moment, he recovered. When his mind swept behind the scenes, his face changed, and he looked at these dark knights coldly. They should have arrived long ago. Why didn't they attack when they saw me? Sun Hao was puzzled and puzzled. "Greetings, my lord." The next scene stunned Sun Hao even more. He saw that the dark knights, led by Zheng Gui, knelt in front of Sun Hao and kowtowed in salute. "What are you doing?" Sun Hao was puzzled, replying to "My lord, this is the case." Then Ghost Suppressor explained his purpose. It turned out that Zheng Gui and the others were remnant souls wandering in the netherworld and had recovered some of their memories from their previous lives. In his previous life, during the Great War of the Dark Era, they had fallen here, and their corpses were buried on this planet. Remnant souls were also drifting here, but they were constantly thinking about how to deal with the next Dark Era. Because he was not strong enough, he could only follow the Ghost and let it order him around. When they saw Sun Hao's cultivation, they learned that Sun Hao was the only person with a full elemental soul and the only powerhouse who could step into the Stage 9. Unifying the entire Dark Blood Star shouldn't be a problem. Following such a powerhouse would naturally give him a chance to deal with the next Dark Era. Therefore, they helped Sun Hao to guard, and there was the scene that Sun Hao saw. All elements. Sun Hao sensed it slightly and was secretly shocked. He didn't expect that he had already gathered all the elements and completed the fusion. He couldn't imagine how powerful it would be. He could only find someone to test it out on. "You remember everything. Don't call this seat Lord in the future. Just call this seat Young Master." Sun Hao said, "Yes, Lord. Young Master." Dozens of dark knights got up together and stood respectfully in front of Sun Hao, like soldiers quietly waiting for orders. "Soul Suppressor will arrive soon. Can you deal with it?" Sun Hao looked at Zheng Gui and said, "Soul Suppressor?" Zheng Gui's figure stagnated, then nodded slightly. "This general will do his best. Don't worry. If you really can't beat it, this seat will help you." Sun Hao said, "Thank you, young master." Not long after Zheng Gui said this, a group of dark knights rushed over quickly, and there were hundreds of them. Huh? Zhangui, I didn't expect you to dare to betray the Lord. Now that you want to die, this seat will fulfill your wish. Soul Suppressor laughed loudly, looking proud. Soul Suppressor, he is the chosen one. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't take a wrong step. Zhangui looked at Soul Suppressor and said. As soon as these words came out, Soul Suppressor's body trembled. Then he laughed again. You're bragging. The chosen one, the old one is still the chosen one. After speaking, Soul Suppressor raised his spear and rushed straight to Zhangui. This speed was so fast that Zhangui couldn't react. Dang, golden light rose. Zhangui reacted extremely quickly, holding the black giant sword in his hand and fighting with Soul Suppressor. For a while, it was impossible to tell the outcome at all. After a while, boom, there was a loud noise. Zhengui's body stepped straight back. The soul flame in his skull dimmed a little. He looked at Soul Suppressor, full of fear. Hee. Soul Suppressor smiled coldly, holding a long spear, and walked toward Zhengui step by step. Buzz, the long spear pointed, buzzing. Can you say something? Soul Suppressor said. Hee. With the Lord here, can you kill me? Zhengui smiled coldly. You mean him, Lord? This seat can kill you with one hand. Before the words fell. Boom! There was an explosion. Soul Suppressor looked down at his chest, full of disbelief. He saw that in his chest, a big hole was blown open. All the vertebrae were broken. A black hook hooked his skull, flew backward, and fell in his Sun Hao's hand. He is really the chosen one. It's over. The last thing he thought of was this sentence. Such a scene directly scared Soul Suppressor's men in place. They looked at Sun Hao in a daze and looked at each other. For a while, it was difficult to make a decision. Surrender or perish? Sun Hao looked at the group of dark knights and said coldly. His voice was not loud, but it was full of power. As soon as these words came out, all the dark knights knelt down and knelt in front of Sun Hao. You are willing to surrender. Under Sun Hao's coercion, no one dared to disobey. Sun Hao held his hands behind his back and nodded slightly. If you follow this seat, I will naturally not treat you badly. These two soul flames, you take them and divide them together. After saying that, Sun Hao took the skull of Soul Suppressor and the skull of an undead claw, threw them on the ground, and said. As soon as these words came out, everyone's figure stagnated, showing a look full of disbelief. What? Do you need this seat to tell you again? Sun Hao's voice shook out leisurely. Thank you, Lord. From today on, all of you call this seat young master. Do you understand? Yes, Lord. Young master. All the dark knights nodded in unison. They sat together, looking at the two soul flames, their eyes blooming with a strange light. You dare. The Lord is coming. None of you will survive. No, don't. At the scene, only the shrill scream of Soul Suppressor was left. The voice was long, shaking out, and it did not calm down for a long time. Chapter 516. Zhengui, with my current strength, what are my chances of winning against the evil ghost? Sun Hao asked. Facing evil ghosts. Ghost Suppressor's body trembled. His pupils shrank, and his complexion changed. Young master, you must not. With your current strength, although you have reached the 7th step, you have no chance of winning against the Een Ghost. Not even 10%? Sun Hao frowned slightly. Why? Young master, it seems like you haven't been in this world for long, right? Not bad. Seeing Sun Hao nod, Zhengui nodded slightly. No wonder. Young master, the evil ghost has lived for hundreds of thousands of years and has integrated countless elements. It's only a little bit away from great success. However, he didn't succeed. No one in the entire Dark Blood Star has ever succeeded. Of course, except for you. You are the only one who can step into the 9th level. It will not be a problem for you to become the future Star Master of the Dark Blood Star. Zhengui said. Dark Blood Star Lord. Sun Hao smiled coldly. Was that all he wanted? All right. Sun Hao nodded slightly. According to you, what should we do now? Young master, the plan now is for us to head southeast. Zhengui said. Southeast? Sun Hao showed a puzzled look. Young master, The southeast direction is ancient spirit's territory, Zheng Gui said. Ancient spirit? Sun Hao frowned. Young master, there are 10 overlords on the Netherblood Star, and to the east of Ian Ghosts is the territory of ancient spirit overlord. What we need to do now is to provoke a battle between the Ian Ghosts and the ancient spirits. Ghost Suppressor said. You mean we should go to Gu Ling's territory, crazily invade and devour there, and then quickly retreat, thus provoking a battle between the two lords and reaping the benefits? Sun Hao asked. Exactly. Ghost Suppressor nodded. Sun Hao looked at Zheng Gui, and the flames in his eyes kept jumping. The Ghost Suppressor before him had some talent. In the future, when facing the Dark Age, he could definitely become a great general. Did this count as picking up a treasure? Not bad. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Okay, let's do as you say. Everyone, head southeast. Leave no grass alive wherever you go. Sun Hao waved his right hand forward. Ha! Their voices sounded in unison. Thud, thud. Hundreds of dark knights rushed toward the southeast like a torrent. Not long after, clang, clang. The sound of armors colliding resounded throughout the forest. Every sound was like hitting the soul flame, and Sun Hao's soul flame kept swaying. Sensing carefully, Sun Hao could not help but be shocked. Thousands of skeletons walked out from the northwest. Each skeleton held a long hook in their hand, and their bodies were golden in color. These were all claws of the undead. Thousands of claws of the undead attacked him at the same time. Had all his movements been known by the evil ghosts? Thinking of this, Sun Hao had a bad feeling. Behind this group of claws of the undead, hundreds of dark knights wearing black armor and riding skeleton exotic beasts appeared in Sun Hao's field of vision. Soul Suppressor? Chief Suppressor? Sun Hao was surprised. 2 of the 4 generals of the Ian Ghost were dispatched today. In order to deal with him, they had mobilized all their forces. They really thought highly of him. Zhang Gui. Without any nonsense, Sun Hao ordered a group of dark knights to rush forward, and he rushed to the 2 generals alone. Soul Suppressor and Chief Suppressor were ranked in the top 2, much stronger than Ghost Suppressor. If Sun Hao met any one of them 2 days ago, he would not be able to withstand one move. However, now his strength had reached the 7th rank, and the opponents were 2 peak 7th rank. Sun Hao was not afraid, and there was no reason to be afraid. The 2 teams met in an instant, and the sound of weapons colliding was endless. Kill! Zhang Gui yelled and rushed into the group of claws of the undead. A giant sword swept across the waist, and the torso of several claws of the undead shattered into slag, making a burst of sound. The bodies of these claws of the undead were like wheat, all broken in 2, fell to the ground, and could no longer move. Zheng Gui ignored these fallen claws of the undead and rushed forward again. Where the giant sword came, there were claws of the undead shattered into 2 pieces. His strength was simply invincible. The other skeleton Dark Knights were no exception. They had already fought hundreds of battles. Their combat skills and strength were not comparable to these claws of the undead at all. What they held in their hands were all spears, and each spear attack could shatter a claws of the undead. The whole scene looked completely one-sided. The 2 generals did not attack the Dark Knights. Their 2 red soul flames stared at Sun Hao. In Sun Hao's eye sockets, there was also a wisp of red soul flame. The color was very light, and compared with the deep red of the 2 generals, it was a lot worse. Sun Hao walked very slowly, holding a spear in his hand. This spear was taken from the Soul Suppressor. Buzz! The spear buzzed in his hand. His eyes were fixed on the 2 generals as he walked towards them step by step. Clang! The sound of armor colliding kept ringing. The armor and mount were also seized from the Soul Suppressors. A little baby actually subdued Zhang Gui. It's really unexpected. Yeah, when the Lord wanted to subdue Zhang Gui, he spent a lot of effort. I didn't expect him to betray so easily. The 2 generals walked towards Sun Hao with a playful face. One on the left and one on the right, they surrounded Sun Hao. Clang! The skeleton beast Sun Hao sat on also accelerated instantly, and the sound of armor colliding also sounded rapidly. Ding! The red spear collided with the black axe, and sparks splashed everywhere. Sun Hao's body was shaken, flew out far away, and fell heavily to the ground. Boom! Dust splashed everywhere. The two generals and the skeleton beast also retreated a long way before stabilizing their figures. Interesting, the little guy is really strong. No wonder the Lord sent me here personally. The soul flame of the general kept flashing. It's really a little strong, so it's a little interesting. The soul suppressor general grinned, and the two big axes swung loudly. You two, are you that old guy, Ingwe? Sun Hao just stood up and said coldly. Dare to call the Lord's name directly, courting death. The two generals rushed straight to Sun Hao, and their speed was so fast that people couldn't react. Who? The soul suppressor general's two axes directly cut the air and slashed at Sun Hao's waist. Buzz! The soul suppressor general waved his spear like a dragon, aiming at Sun Hao's eyebrows. Just in time, Sun Hao's figure flashed, and the spear in his hand blasted at the soul suppressor general's giant axe. The power of dozens of elements shrouded the spear. Sensing the power of those elements, the soul suppressor general's face changed drastically, and he wanted to take back the giant axe. It was just that, how could it be too late? Boom! There was an explosion. The giant axe in the soul suppressor general's hand directly exploded, and the fragments splashed around. The speed of the spear in Sun Hao's hand did not decrease. Like a thunder, it stabbed at the soul suppressor general's neck. Chapter 517. No, an unwilling shout came to an abrupt end. Boom! There was an explosion. The soul-suppressing general's neck exploded directly. His skull flew out uncontrollably and fell into Sun Hao's hands. Sun Hao took advantage of the situation and pinned the soul-suppressing general's skull to his waist. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of the soul-suppressing general. The soul flame in his skull kept howling, and his body was trembling slightly. Without any hesitation, he turned around, took a step, and ran away quickly. Tap, tap. The footsteps of strange beasts awakened thousands of dark nights. Not good. He's the chosen one. Run away. The soul-suppressing general has fled. It will be too late if you don't run now. Run. These dark knights also turned around and fled frantically. Want to escape? Sun Hao smiled coldly. His right leg kicked, and his body jumped up like a cannonball. In an instant, Sun Hao blocked in front of the soul-suppressing general, and his spear slashed. Zizi. All kinds of elemental power surged on the spear. Seeing this scene, the soul-suppressing general's body trembled like a chaff. My lord, I am willing to recognize you as my master. Please spare my life. The soul-suppressing general knelt down and kept begging Sun Hao for mercy. My lord, please spare my life too. The soul-suppressing general's skull pinned to Sun Hao's body also begged for mercy. Hearing these two sounds, Sun Hao smiled coldly. I have given you a chance, but you don't cherish it. Die. The spear slashed. No. Boom. Two sounds sounded at the same time. The soul-suppressing general's skull was also pinned to Sun Hao's waist. Then, Sun Hao stepped out like a torrent, madly colliding with those dark nights. Everywhere he went, there was only the sound of explosions and the scene of bones soaring into the sky. The terrifying scene made people's scalp numb and cold sweat. Thousands of dark knights, none of them survived, and they were all killed by Sun Hao. Such a scene strongly stimulated the nerves of soul-suppressing general and other subordinates. They stared blankly at this scene and secretly thought it was dangerous. Fortunately, I had the self-awareness to follow the young master. Otherwise, I would have ended up like them. Thinking of this, Ghost Suppressor secretly wiped his cold sweat. Even though he was now an undead creature, he still retained the memories of his previous life. After killing everything, Sun Hao quickly stepped forward. Zhang Gui, take your subordinates to clean up the soul flame. How much you could devour depends on your luck. Sun Hao said, Young master, are you going to give all of these soul flames to us? Zhang Gui had a look of disbelief. Of course, when you are strong, your combat power can come up. Sun Hao said, Many thanks, young master. Everyone knelt down together and kowtowed to Sun Hao. Since you're following me, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Hurry up and swallow it. I think the evil ghost already knows everything. We have to get out of here before he arrives. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. All of the dark knights moved quickly. Each of them picked up more than 10 groups of soul flames, learned from Sun Hao, sat cross-legged on the ground, and began to devour. As for Sun Hao, he was also devouring the soul flames of the two generals. Sizzle. With a flash of elemental power, the consciousness of the two generals was wiped clean. Sun Hao's soul flame soared rapidly, and soon changed from pale red to red. Then it turned crimson again. Finally, it turned dark red. Sizzle. Wisps of dark red elemental power burst out in the soul flame, bursting out a frightening aura. Even if it was just a glance, it made people's soul panic and incomparable fear. I have reached the peak of the 7th rank, only one step away from reaching the 8th rank. However, it doesn't seem easy to reach the 8th rank. This space-time does not allow me to reach the 8th rank. What is the reason? Sun Hao thought secretly, showing a dignified expression. After thinking for a long time, he couldn't figure out the reason, so he could only find an opportunity to ask Zhenghe. Buzz. Suddenly, the memories of the two generals rushed in like a tsunami. They crazily hit Sun Hao's soul flame. Sensing these memories, Sun Hao selectively attracted them, eliminating all the other useless memories. So that's how it is. It seems that this is the only way. Sun Hao secretly made a decision. He stood up first, glanced at the Dark Knight who was devouring the soul flame, and couldn't help but frown slightly. These Dark Knights devoured the soul flame, and it was not as easy as him. They not only had to fight against the messy memories, but they also had to remove the mottled soul flame and absorb it suitable for themselves. I wonder if I can open the soul space now? Thinking like this, Sun Hao's mind moved. The scenery changed, and he instantly came to the soul space. Looking at his soul space that was evolving into a world, Sun Hao's eyes widened, revealing a look of incomparable surprise. Rumung. He quickly ran to Huang Ruming's crystal coffin and stared at her blankly. Rumung, don't worry. It will be fine soon. I will definitely resurrect you. Sun Hao thought secretly, showing a firm expression. After a long time, he retracted his consciousness and returned to the skeleton. I wonder if my zither playing still has any effect? Thinking like this, Sun Hao's mind moved. Buzz. An ancient zither was placed in front of Sun Hao. Zheng. The sound of the zither sounded from Sun Hao's fingertips. The 10-colored saint energy crossed his fingertips and quickly poured into the eyebrows of each skeleton in front of Sun Hao. At this moment, their originally restless hearts calmed down in an instant. The soul flame that was originally uncomfortable became incomparably calm. His soul was improved qualitatively again. Soon, all the Dark Knights, including the strange beasts, reached the peak of the 7th rank. At this moment, Sun Hao stopped playing the zither and opened his eyes. It seems that the laws of this world restrict them, and I can't let them break through to the 8th rank. If that's the case, then I can only do this. Sun Hao waved his right hand, and the ancient zither was stored in the soul space. Thank you, young master. All the Dark Knights stood in front of Sun Hao, looking at him with admiration. No need to be polite. Sun Hao waved his hand and motioned for Zhenghe to come forward. Young master, General Zhenghe stood forward. Show me your weapon. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Zhenghe presented the giant sword and handed it to Sun Hao respectfully. Taking the giant sword in Zhenghe's hand, Sun Hao looked at it carefully. Low-grade divine weapon quality, unable to use divine power. This weapon is a bit bad. Let me modify it a little. Sun Hao stretched out his right hand, mobilized the saint energy in the soul space, and released it on the giant sword. The cracks on the giant sword recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. The originally dark giant sword turned silver-white, showing off its sharpness. At a glance, it made people's scalp explode and cold sweat flow. All right, Sun Hao looked at the giant sword in his hand and nodded slightly. Then, he handed the giant sword to Zheng Gui. Chapter 518. This, Gu Yi sensed the terrifying speed behind him, and his voice trembled, and his body trembled. You can't escape. Fight to the death for me. Gu Yi let out a roar, suppressing the 100,000 skeletons in place. However, after the 100,000 skeletons saw the 7th grade soul flame, there was no fighting spirit at all. Their bodies trembled violently, and the weapons in their hands followed their bodies, constantly trembling. Zheng Gui, I will fight with you. Gu Yi let out a roar, turned around, and went straight to Zheng Gui. Fight? Not by yourself? Zheng Gui smiled coldly, and the giant sword in his hand twisted gently and slapped at Gu Yi. Boom! The spear in Gu Yi's hand was instantly broken into 2 pieces. Not good. Gu Yi's soul flame trembled, and he was about to move. Boom! There was an explosion. Zheng Gui's sword qi quickly enveloped his body, blasting his skeleton into powder. A dark red soul flame was surrounded by the giant's sword, and his consciousness collapsed instantly, turning into a supreme soul flame, which was collected by Zheng Gui. It was just an ordinary move, and Gu Yi was killed without any resistance at all. If he used the move given by Sun Hao, wouldn't it be terrible? Kill! Zheng Gui led the army of 2,000 and continued to move forward. The army of 2,000, like a torrent, crashed into the 100,000 skeletons' army, and they had no power to resist at all. Without any thought, all the skeletons were beheaded. Young master, the mission is completed, Zheng Gui said, and continued to move northeast. Sun Hao said, yes. Under the leadership of Sun Hao, the army of 2,000 came and went without wind, instantly disappearing into the jungle. After leaving 50 miles, Sun Hao stood in place and waited quietly. After a while, howl! A roar was earth-shattering, shaking the whole ground, buzzing and trembling. Roar! In response to this roar, there was a beast roar. The whole earth was also shaking. Looking at its power, it was extremely terrifying. Immediately afterward, boom! Boom! A dull thud could be heard from afar, causing the entire ground to tremble. Young master, the evil ghost, and Wei Ling seem to be fighting, should we? Zheng Gui asked. Don't worry, let them fight for a while. We will sit and watch the tigers fight. Sun Hao said. Yes, young master. Zheng Gui smiled and nodded, standing beside Sun Hao. In the soul flame, there was a look of worship, and he looked at Sun Hao in a daze. I didn't expect that I could actually recognize the young master as my master. This feels like a dream. Young master, I am yours in this life. Zheng Gui thought to himself. From time to time, his gaze would sweep over that imposing figure. In Ghost, how dare you lead an army to invade my territory? Today you must die here. Do you think I'm afraid of you? We still don't know who will be left alive. 2 thunderous voices reverberated across the heavens and earth, surging out. Even if Sun Hao and the others were far enough away, they could see it clearly. Boom! Terrifying explosions kept ringing out. The terrifying aura became more and more intense. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao could not help but be overjoyed. Although he could defeat the Lord, he would definitely lose some of his subordinates. This was something he didn't want to see. The best plan was to wait until the 2 sides were almost done fighting and then reap the benefits of the third party. From the looks of it, the Sandpiper and Clam's fight had already begun. What he needed to do now was to wait. Sun Hao released the soul flame and watched the battle center. He saw the Ying Ghost with millions of troops rush toward Gu Ling like a torrent. On Gu Ling's side, there were also a lot of troops, as many as millions. These many troops, the lowest strength was at the 5th rank, and the peak was at the 7th rank. The strongest, of course, were the 8th rank Ying Ghost and Gu Ling. The Ying Ghost was a 10-meter-tall skeleton giant, shrouded in black gas, and its figure was erratic. It looked very gloomy. Boom! Every step the Ying Ghost took, it would crack the earth, shaking the surrounding ancient trees, buzzing. Fallen leaves fell like heavy rain. Gu Ling, you dare to stop me. If I don't swallow you this time, I won't be a een ghost. The voice roared and spread in all directions. Humph. It was obvious that you attacked my territory first and killed my army. If I don't avenge this, I will be a lord in vain. Guling was a 100-meter-long skeleton giant beast, covered with thick and heavy armor. Every step it took, the mountain would crack and the boulders would shatter. On its body, there was an incomparably strong aura. The two lords fought together, coming and going, neither giving way. For a while, there was no winner or loser. Within a kilometer of the center of their battle, it was all moved to the ground. Ancient trees flew and gravel splashed. It looked like a doomsday scene, making people desperate. Anyone who accidentally rushed into the center of the battle between the two sides, without exception, all of their bodies disintegrated, and their soul flames were torn apart. Sensing this, Sun Hao was secretly shocked. It seemed that the Lord was more powerful than he thought. Fortunately, he used a trick to provoke the two sides to fight. Otherwise, everything would be hard to say. Outside the battle wave of the two lords, the two sides of the skeleton army collided together, like a torrent hitting each other, instantly strangling each other. Ding! The sword light and the sword shadow fought until the sun and moon were dim and the dust was flying. The skeleton army fell down quickly like wheat. The soul flames were like fireflies dancing in the wind. Without the attachment of the skeleton, these soul flames, sooner or later, would be blown to the depths of the universe and torn apart by the turbulence of the universe. Boom! Boom! The battle between the two overlords was truly enraged. Every move and every momentum was done with all means. The terrifying aftermath tore the skeleton army of nearly 10,000 from time to time. Sun Hao sensed this and waited quietly, not in a hurry at all. Time passed minute by minute. Soon, a day passed. Boom! The battle between the two lords was still ongoing. However, the sound of the explosion was getting weaker and weaker, and the soul flames in their skulls were getting weaker and weaker. Young master, how is it? Can we move forward? Zheng Gui showed an anxious look. Sun Hao was about to nod. Suddenly, the soul flame trembled, and he hurriedly stopped. Wait! Boom! A burst of tremors came from the south. Sun Hao's soul flame sensed slightly, and his expression changed. He saw, in the south, a giant skeleton beast shaped like a tortoise was 100 meters tall, and it looked like a moving mountain. With each step, it could move a few miles. The ancient trees on the ground flew everywhere, and the mountain collapsed. Its power was not weaker than Guling and Yin Gui. Another lord? Sun Hao secretly thought, showing a thoughtful look. It was obvious that the lord was heading towards Guling and Gul. Boom! The terrifying power spread around. The three commanders had already fought together. The southern giant tortoise was obviously stronger than Guling and Yin Gui. However, the southern giant tortoise was not so flexible, and its figure was extremely clumsy. For a while, it couldn't hit the two lords at all. However, the southern giant tortoise's defense was extremely strong. Even if the two lords joined forces, they couldn't break its defense. The aftermath of the battle between the three lords was incomparably terrifying. Within a radius of 5 miles, it was moved to the ground. Countless skeletons and undead were crushed by the aftermath, and the soul flames were torn apart in the wind. Chapter 519. Boom! The sound of fighting became more and more intense. The sound of the earth trembling shook the dust on the ground. As time passed, the sound of fighting in the distance became softer and softer. When the sound stopped completely, another day had passed. Sun Hao stood in place, waiting quietly, without the slightest intention of moving. Although the battle between the lords was over, swallowing each other was by no means completed in a short time. Therefore, Sun Hao still needed to continue to wait. When they reached a critical time, he would make a strong move and swallow a lord in one fell swoop to reach the 8th rank. That would be the best. This world seemed to have a lore restriction. Only the destruction of a rank 8 lord would give birth to a rank 8 lord. This time, I should be able to break through to the 8th rank. It should be almost there. Zheng Gui, lead the team to the southwest with this seat. Sun Hao was in front, leading 2,000 dark nights to the southwest. The southwest was the place where the three lords were fighting. Young master, we are about to reach the place where the three lords are fighting. Let me check it out first, in case of accidents. Zheng Gui said. No need. Sun Hao waved his hand. After fighting for 2 days and 2 nights, the three of them must have finished fighting. Now, they should be swallowing each other and have no ability to fight against all external forces. Hearing this, Zheng Gui nodded and didn't say anything more. Dang dang. This group of people was extremely fast, and soon they arrived at the place of the battle. Sun Hao looked ahead, showing a shocked expression. He saw, 5 kilometers in front of him, there was a huge pit. In the huge pit, there was a mountain-like giant turtle skeleton. It fell to the ground, motionless. On top of its head, the bodies of Yin Gui and Gu Ling fell on it, also motionless. In the eye sockets of the giant skeleton beast, there were 3 groups of 3-colored soul flames constantly flashing. They were swallowing each other. The soul flames of Yin Gui and Gu Ling were getting darker and darker, as if they would be swallowed at any time. Now, the soul flames of Yin Gui and Gu Ling were swallowed by the giant turtle. Now, it was a critical moment. At this rate, in another day, their 2 soul flames would be swallowed. At that time, facing the giant turtle skeleton, he was afraid that he would have no chance at all. Zheng Gui, you wait here, I'll be back soon. Sun Hao said. Master, this, Zheng Gui shouted worriedly, and finally executed the order without any nonsense. Sun Hao's figure turned into an afterimage and disappeared in place. After a while, Sun Hao came to the side of the giant turtle skeleton. With a slight sense, he could feel that the 3 soul flames were competing with each other. The evil ghost and the ancient spirit were obviously at a disadvantage and might be devoured at any time. They were bitterly holding on, unwilling to be devoured. An ant wants to join the fun? Hurry up and scram. The giant tortoise skeleton's voice rang out. Sun Hao ignored this voice. Phew! He jumped down from his mount, and with a few flashes, he flew to the top of the giant turtle skeleton's head. He stood a few meters away from the giant tortoise skeleton's soul flame. They really have 2 good bodies. Sun Hao looked at the bodies of Gu Ling and Yin Ghost and couldn't help but marvel. Gu Ling's body, in particular, was a 10-meter-tall, single-horned skeleton exotic beast. If he could use it as his mount, his speed would surely be much faster than it was now. Sun Hao waved his right hand. Phew! The soul flame in a mount's skull quickly flew out and floated in Sun Hao's hand. Sun Hao pointed his right hand forward, and the soul flame floated forward, instantly submerging into the skull of the one-horned skeleton. Buzz, there was a shock. The one-horned skeleton beast stood up at once and knelt down to Sun Hao. Thank you, master. No, you can give this body to Zheng Gui. Sun Hao pointed to the body of the Yin Ghost and said, Yes. The one-horned skeleton beast reacted extremely quickly, carrying the body of the Yin Ghost on its back, jumped a few times, and disappeared into the gray mist. The reason why Sun Hao didn't want this body was that his own body had already been tempered to the 7th rank, dark red, and it was more handy to use. It was best to give it to Zheng Gui. During this process, the 2 souls of the Yin Ghost and Gu Ling in the eye sockets of the giant tortoise skeleton kept jumping, letting out a burst of mournful roars as if they had encountered the worst thing. However, after the soul flames of Gu Ling and Yin Ghost roared, they were obviously weakened a lot. As soon as the giant tortoise skeleton saw it, it took advantage of the situation to attack. In just an instant, half of their soul flames were swallowed up in an instant, and only half of them were still struggling to support. Seeing this situation, how could Sun Hao still be calm and rush forward? Phew! The soul flame in his skull flew out quickly and went directly into the giant tortoise skeleton's skull. Why can't I move? Not good, this is a trap. Sun Hao was shocked. He had been very careful, but he didn't expect to fall into a trap. Now his soul flame was bound, unable to move, and he couldn't use the power in the soul flame at all. The soul flames of the 3 lords vibrated wildly, and they let out a burst of sharp laughter. Kid, you didn't expect it, did you? Is it very uncomfortable now? The laughter of the ghost came over. You guys, in order to deal with me, you really let the giant tortoise skeleton devour the soul flame. Sun Hao said, Ha! If we don't do this, how can we lure you into the trap? Kid, let me see if you're really stupid or really stupid. Instead of hiding to cultivate and grow, you even ran to Guling's territory to wreak havoc? You certainly can't imagine that I'm a good friend of Guling, right? The Ingo said, If he is not stupid, how can we have a chance? Now, let's divide his soul together, and then we can fight against the king. Guling said, Haha, that's good. When the three of us join forces, it is enough to sweep the entire ghost forest. The giant tortoise skeleton's voice was also enthusiastic. Join forces. I think you two will be devoured by it. Sun Hao said, pointing to the giant tortoise skeleton. Kid, with your little trick, you want to drive a wedge between us? Guling said, Don't wait. Let's go together and divide his soul. We'll be the chosen ones. At that time, not only can we become the king, but we can even go to that place. The giant tortoise skeleton said, Okay, 3 soul flames aimed at Sun Hao, and 3 kinds of pressure kept squeezing Sun Hao's soul flame. Sun Hao's soul flame swayed, but it didn't let them succeed. You want to devour me? Dream on. Sun Hao said, Kid, it's true that we can't devour you now, but when your soul flame's strength drops, we naturally have the confidence to devour you little by little. The Ingo said, Drop? Hearing this voice, Sun Hao smiled. It will take at least tens of thousands of years for my soul flame to drop by a level, right? It's just tens of thousands of years. Even if it's 1,000,000 years, we can afford to wait. Guling said, Can afford to wait for 1,000,000 years? I can't even wait for 100 years. What should I do? Am I bound here? Can Ruming's soul fragments still be saved? Aren't you afraid that my men will destroy your skeleton? Sun Hao said, Haha, kid, it seems that you're not familiar with this world. Let me tell you, we have a Lord's seal on us, and it is this thing that traps you. Anyway, we still need to get along for tens of thousands of years, so I will tell you everything. The Ghost began to talk. The Ghost forest turned out to be a burial ground of the gods. Most of the gods who were buried here were the gods who fell during the war with the abyss monsters during the ancient Dark Age. Although the gods died, their unwilling thoughts formed a group of soul flames after countless years. The soul flames of the strong had various elemental attributes. The soul flames with perfect elemental attributes were called the Chosen Ones. This was just like Sun Hao. Sun Hao was the Chosen One. When the Chosen One grew up, he could become a king on his own and become a 9th rank existence. If he could devour the soul flames of the Chosen One, then he could have the identity of the Chosen One and become a 9th rank existence. There were as many as 100 such kings of the 9th rank on the Dark Blood Star, and each of them had monstrous strength. The territories of the Ghost, Guling, and the giant tortoise happened to be located in the territory of a king named Malai. In his king's territory, no one could break through to the 8th rank without his permission. It was as if this world belonged to him. Only by getting Malai's approval and letting him inject the Lord's seal into his soul flame could he break through to the 8th rank. However, once the Lord's seal was injected, then he would be used by Malai for the rest of his life, and there would be no possibility of resistance. The reason why the 3 lords of the Ghost caught Sun Hao was to devour his chosen one soul flame. This perfect attribute could just destroy the Lord's seal in the soul flame. Hearing this, Sun Hao nodded. No wonder he couldn't break through. It turned out to be like this. Chapter 520. When Sun Hao landed on this planet, a meteorite fell from the sky. Finally, it turned into a wisp of soul flame. Before Sun Hao grew up, the evil ghost noticed Sun Hao. Therefore, he sent Zhengui General to capture Sun Hao back. Unexpectedly, Zhengui rebelled directly. After that, he sent Jinhun, but he was not Sun Hao's opponent. Finally, he sent Zheng Kuei and Zheng Pe, the 2 strongest subordinates. However, he didn't expect Sun Hao to grow so fast that the 2 generals were not his opponent at all. While the evil ghost was angry, he secretly observed Sun Hao. After discovering that Sun Hao was the chosen one, he was extremely ecstatic. He knew that he couldn't devour Sun Hao alone, so he joined Gu Ling and the giant tortoise to set up this plan to lure Sun Hao. Unexpectedly, it really worked. Speaking of this, the evil ghost laughed triumphantly. It was particularly harsh to Sun Hao's ears. Sun Hao looked at the soul flame of the evil ghost, showing a puzzled look. I'm the chosen one, and my soul flame is obviously stronger than yours. You can't sense me. Sun Hao said. Ha! The evil ghost let out a hearty laugh. It's okay to tell you. That's because we have the Lord's seal. With this thing, I can sense everything in my territory. Yes, within a radius of 10,000 miles, Ma Lai can sense everything, and his rank is 9. We're using his power to sense. Gu Ling said, Aren't you afraid that he will see your actions and come to kill you personally? Sun Hao said, Ha! Hearing this, the three lords laughed for a long time. Being able to sense so far doesn't mean that he is willing to sense. Sensing needs to consume the soul flame. Moreover, we are in the westernmost border, so Ma Lai won't take us seriously. That's right, I think his focus should be on the 3 strongest lords, because the strength of the 3 strongest lords has reached the peak of the 8th rank, and they have the authority to challenge Ma Lai. The giant tortoise skeleton said. It turned out to be like this. Hearing these words, Sun Hao basically understood everything. Kid, you said that your subordinates will come to save you. Don't be delusional. Let me tell you, the Lord's seal is covered with countless ancient arrays. Not to mention your subordinates. Even Ma Lai himself can't break it in a short time. The evil ghost said. Hearing this, Sun Hao's heart trembled. Ancient array? Brat, if you have any last words, say them slowly. We have plenty of time to listen. Exactly. Brat, give up. You don't have the strength to struggle. Struggling is futile. Just obediently let us devour you. This will save you a lot of time. Ingui and the other 2 said one sentence after another, and each sentence was full of pride. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao smiled coldly. Phew! The soul flame took the shape of a palm. It stretched out its finger and pressed forward. Seeing this, Ingui and the other 2 burst into laughter. Huh? Brat, don't tell me you want to rely on a finger to break the ancient formation. Ha, what a joke. Breaking the ancient formation with 1 finger. He wouldn't be able to do it even if he had 10 fingers. Don't you know that we haven't been able to decipher even 1/10,000th of the formation patterns of the Lord's seal for 1,000,000 years? Do you really think that little New can do it? The mocking sounds continued to ring out. However, as he laughed, he fell silent. Gotcha! The sound of an egg cracking rang out. The ancient great array that bound Sun Hao's soul flame instantly broke apart. At this moment, Sun Hao regained his freedom. Seeing this scene, the bodies of the 3 spirit flames trembled. Their trembling appearances were filled with disbelief. This is impossible. How can he break this ancient great array with just 1 finger? Continue to use the power of the formation to bind it together. Ingui let out a roar and mobilized the power on the Lord's seal together to form an ancient great array to bind Sun Hao. However, gotcha! As soon as the ancient great array touched Sun Hao's soul flame, it shattered. It couldn't bind Sun Hao at all. Such a scene strongly stimulated their nerves. How could this be? This is impossible. This is a dream. This must be a dream. The sound of trembling kept ringing out. They looked at Sun Hao as if they were looking at a terrifying monster. Sun Hao's soul flame floated gently, standing in front of the 3 soul flames, smiling and saying, Dream? I'll let you see if it's a dream. Ancient great array, right? Fine. The words came out. 3 ancient great arrays flew out quickly, and in an instant, the evil ghost and the others were bound in place. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break free. Squeak! Ingui and the others let out a burst of screams. Like a ghost howling from hell, people's scalp tingled when they heard it. Kid, no, my lord, we are willing to serve you as our master. My lord, we are willing to be cattle and horses for life, and we will never regret it. My lord, spare my life, spare my life. My lord, We were wrong. Please spare our lives. The sound of begging for mercy came from the soul flame in the mouth of the evil ghost. Hearing these voices, Sun Hao smiled coldly. Recognize me as your master? No need. The voice was very light. This sound was like a death sentence for the three people. Who? The evil ghost's soul flame flew out uncontrollably and fell into Sun Hao's hands. Sun Hao's soul flame turned into a human form. He stretched out his finger and pointed at the evil ghost's soul flame. Squeak! The shrill scream shook the world. The Lord's seal in the evil ghost's soul flame flew out uncontrollably and fell into Sun Hao's hands. Squeak! Gently. Boom! All of Malai's imprints were erased by Sun Hao. The Lord's seal became pure soul energy. Who? Sun Hao opened his mouth and sucked hard. The Lord's seal and the evil ghost's soul flame flew uncontrollably into Sun Hao's mouth. Seeing this scene, the evil ghost's scalp exploded and cold sweat flowed. Spare my life! Spare my life! No! The unwilling cry stopped abruptly. The evil ghost's soul trembled and merged with Sun Hao's soul flame. Squeak! A wisp of electric light trembled, instantly wiping out the evil ghost's will, leaving no trace. Sun Hao sat cross-legged in place, quietly absorbing the evil ghost's soul flame. Ooh! Sun Hao's soul flame slowly changed from crimson to three-colored. The three-colored light was extremely strong, illuminating the entire giant turtle bone. Buzz! Sun Hao opened his eyes, and a glimmer of light flashed away. His eyes stared directly at the ancient spirit and the giant turtle's soul flame. Seeing this scene, the two soul flames trembled violently. My lord, we were wrong. Please spare our lives. Be a cow or a horse. Serve you as my master all my life. I beg you. The giant turtle and ancient spirit kept begging for mercy. End of this chapter. Please indicate the source for reprinting. Chapter 5:21. Sun Hao turned a deaf ear to the two begging for mercy. He stretched out his finger and pointed at the soul flames of the two. No! Bang! Two sounds sounded at the same time. The consciousness in the soul flames of the two was wiped clean by Sun Hao, leaving nothing behind. Who, with a wave of his right hand, he took out the two Lord marks and stored them in the soul space. After doing this, Sun Hao's soul flame returned to his skeleton. He looked at the soul flames of the two lords and couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth slightly. This time, I can let suppressing ghost break through to the 8th rank. Sun Hao thought secretly. He took a step and jumped down. Just landing, a voice came, startling Sun Hao. Father! The voice was real, revealing a strong emotion. Turning his head, Sun Hao saw a humanoid skeleton looking at him in a daze. Who are you calling? Sun Hao looked puzzled. Father, I'm calling you. The humanoid skeleton quickly ran forward, holding Sun Hao's hand with an excited face. It looked like a father and son meeting each other. Hearing this, Sun Hao's face changed slightly. He was still a virgin. How could he have a son? Moreover, it was a skeleton's son. This kid saw that he was strong and deliberately recognized him as his father. Wasn't this too unreliable? If you don't tell me the reason today, I will never spare you. Why do you call me father? Sun Hao said coldly. Father, I was split from your body. Have you forgotten? In order to attract the skeleton, you divided the soul flame into two. Have you forgotten? Hearing this, Sun Hao showed a sudden look. It was true that when he first came to this world, he did split the soul flame. Later on, he abandoned the skull. Who would have thought that it would reach the pinnacle of the 6th step and even find him? This cheap son was born just like that. His body was split from, but it was just a clone, okay? How could it call him father? I remember. However, you are just a clone of this seat. You can call this seat Big Brother. You don't have to call me father. Sun Hao said. Yes, father, big brother. The humanoid skeleton looked at Sun Hao with an excited face. What's your name? Sun Hao asked. Name? The humanoid skeleton showed a puzzled expression, obviously not given a name. What is your name, big brother? That won't do. Sun Hao refused sternly. I'll give you a name. Then you'll be called Sun Wuquang. Sun Wuquang? Great, I have a name now. I'm Wukuang's son, Wukuang's son. The human-shaped skeleton was extremely excited. It was as happy as a child. All right, let's go. Yes, big brother. Son Wukuang followed behind Sun Hao, jumping from time to time, extremely happy. The clone had its own consciousness, which Sun Hao did not expect. That might be a good thing. Young master. Seeing Sun Hao coming back, Zheng Gui walked forward with an excited face. He looked at Sun Wukuang with a puzzled expression. This is? He's my clone. You can call him second brother. Sun Hao said. Greetings, second brother. Demon Suppressor shouted respectfully. The other undead skeletons also wore respectful looks on their faces. Zheng Gui, Sun Wukuang, each of you devour one of these 2 soul flames. After that, I'll devour the Lord's seal. After Sun Hao finished speaking, he took 2 balls of Lord's soul flames and handed them to them. Many thanks, young master. Many thanks, big brother. Zheng Gui and Sun Wukuang showed an excited look. The 2 sat down cross-legged and began to devour the soul flames. Sun Wukuang's strength, from the peak of the 6th rank, reached the 7th rank at once. Then it did not stop and continued to grow wildly. After a while, Sun Wukuang reached the peak of the 7th rank. According to Sun Hao's request, Sun Wukuang and Zheng Gui merged into a Lord Seal in the soul flame. Buzz! 2 vibrations sounded. The 2's strength broke through at the same time and reached the 8th rank. At this moment, including Sun Hao, they became 3 lords. Big brother, look, I broke through. Sun Wukuang turned around in a circle, looking completely like a child. Sun Wukuang. Sun Hao said, Big brother, what are your orders? Just say it. Sun Wukuang patted his chest, looking excited. Looking at this guy's reaction, Sun Hao shook his head slightly. This guy's personality was similar to his own, but it was a bit like his childhood. When he knew about this, would he become another him? Zheng Gui. Sun Hao shouted again. Young master. Zheng Gui came forward. His 5-meter-tall body was like a giant. Zheng Gui, are you satisfied with this body? Sun Hao asked. Thank you. Young master, I am very satisfied. Zheng Gui was full of gratitude. Now that you have reached the 8th rank, the 3 of us, let's go meet Malai. Sun Hao said. What Malai? Zheng Gui's voice trembled. Previously, he didn't know much about the king of this territory. However, from Gu Ling's memory, he learned about the king's terror, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. The king's existence could be said to be invincible, because he could control the power of the laws of this world. The king's opponent was only the king, and they were just lords. How could they deal with the king? Young master, the king is too powerful. Let's cultivate for a while first. Zheng Gui said. No need. Sun Hao shook his head slightly, revealing a confident look. No matter how we cultivate, we can't break through to the 9th rank. Only by getting the king's seal can we have a chance to break through to the 9th rank. Big brother, let's go, I will help you. Sun Wukuang looked excited. Okay. However, big brother will teach you a few sets of cultivation techniques first. Sun Hao said. Cultivation technique? Sun Wukuang grabbed it with a puzzled look on his face. 9 Tribulation's finger. He stretched out his finger and pointed forward. Boom! Boom! Terrifying explosions rang out continuously. The earth was lifted up layer by layer, and the terrifying power made people's scalp numb. 9 Yongdao scripture. The words just fell. Buzz, one by one, the sun flew out of Sun Wukuang's fingers and fell into the sky. Finally, they all merged into one. The air was distorted, and the sun and moon were deformed. The terrifying heat seemed to be able to melt the world. When the sun set, the earth turned into magma. If Sun Hao hadn't used a secret technique to cover the dark nights, they would have fused together. Blasting heaven palm. Sun Wukuang was about to wave his palm when Sun Hao hurriedly shouted to stop. If this continued, this place would definitely be destroyed by Sun Wukuang. In this guy's memory, there was actually a cultivation technique that he used. It seemed that he didn't need to make a move at all. Big brother, how is it? Are these cultivation techniques? Sun Wukuang asked. Of course. Sun Hao nodded slightly. Zheng Gui looked at Sun Wukuang, shocked. Second brother's ability is too terrifying. Compared with the young master, I'm afraid it's not much weaker. I didn't expect that the young master's casual younger brother would be so terrifying. Young master, what kind of existence are you? Jean Gouet looked at Sun Hao in a daze, admiring him. Chapter 522. Thousands of miles away. Here, gray mist rose with some kind of forbidden power that soul flames could not see through. In a dense forest, even sunlight could not penetrate it. Looking closely, there were colorful lights in the gray mist. The lights flickered like fireflies. Howl! A howl accompanied by falling leaves flew in all directions. In the gray mist, a monster opened its two blood-red eyes. That's right, there was a monster with eyes on this dark blood star. Its entire body, except for its head, which had flesh and blood, was made up of skeletons. Its whole body was colorful and emitted an indestructible luster. It had 6 feet, and each of its feet had a sharp barb. A chilling aura emanated from barbs. One look at it made people shudder. This monster was the king of the Donlong continent's west, Ma Shirlai. King, a skeleton with a 3-colored light, rushed over and knelt respectfully to Ma Shirlai. Ma Shirlai, I order you and Ma Shirlai to go to the west and capture the murderer who killed the giant tortoise skeleton, the dark ghost, and the ancient spirit. Ma Shirlai said, Yes, king. Ma Shirlai did not waste time and strode away, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. After Ma Shirlai left, 3 lifeless beads appeared in Ma Shirlai's hand. Ma Shirlai squeezed hard, and the 3 beads turned into powder and scattered on the ground, accompanying the dust. Who else could it be other than you? Yao Lin, hiding in my territory? Ma Shirlai looked to the west, his eyes revealing a look of resentment. Then he took out a green bead. Whoosh! The bead slowly floated up, stopped on his forehead, and began to spin. Hiss! Rays of green light sprinkled down from the bead and landed on Ma Shirlai's skull. Hiss! Ma Shirlai's skull emitted a series of sounds after being wrapped by the green light. Meridians and flesh were rapidly growing. In a moment, an old monster head grew out, with eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything. As for the green bead, it turned into ash and was blown away by the wind, disappearing without a trace. Sigh, there are too few underworld deity crystals. If my flesh and blood could grow all over my body, my strength would increase greatly. Who on this dark blood star will be a match for me then? Chu Lai sighed, looking towards the north and sighing inwardly. Dark blood star, somewhere in the western region of the Dongfang continent. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, as if it was about to shatter the mountains and rivers. An undead creature with a body as large as a mountain walked forward. Every step it took covered a few miles. This huge undead creature was the giant tortoise skeleton. Now, it had become Ghost Suppressing's mount. Ghost Suppressor held a giant club in his hand. His 5-meter-tall body was sitting on the giant tortoise skeleton, making him look very small. Kill! A soul voice resounded throughout the entire world. Phew! Beside the giant tortoise skeleton, thousands of dark skeleton knights charged forward like a flood. Every dark knight's strength had reached the 7th step. Kill! A dark paladin wielded a spear and stabbed towards an undead claw. Whoosh! Before this undead claw could resist, its entire body turned into bone dregs and splattered in all directions. A ball of soul flame flew out and flew into the sky. When the dark paladin saw this, he waved his right hand and collected this ball of soul flame. The entire process was extremely skillful, as if he had done it thousands of times. Whoosh! Another dark paladin smashed 2 undead skeletons with his club. Naturally, the 2 balls of soul flame did not escape. Boom! The giant tortoise skeleton strode forward with its giant legs. With a stomp, dozens of undead claws were trampled into pieces, and balls of soul flame drifted into the sky. Come, Ghost Suppressor reached out and grabbed. None of these soul flames escaped his palm and were all collected by him. At the forefront of the battle, Sun Wukong was like a god of death. With a finger, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Boom! The army of skeletons exploded and fell to the ground. 9 Yondao scripture go. The 9 suns merged into one. It blasted straight towards the ground. Boom! There was a loud noise and the world trembled. The trees and the ground quickly melted, turning into a red and yellow liquid, slowly rippling. The scorching high temperature burned the mountains and boiled the sea. Countless skeletons were melted into slag by the magma, and even their soul flames were melted into slag by the high temperature. Blizzard technique. Sun Wukong pointed to the sky. Buzz, the sky trembled, and the wind and clouds surged. Soon the sky darkened. The cold wind whistled, and ice and snow flew down. The violent snowstorm poured down like a waterfall. Pouring on the magma, the water mist evaporated. It looked like a fairyland, very psychedelic. Soon, the entire earth, the heat wave, dissipated. The black land appeared in front of Sun Wukong. The source of life. Sun Wukong pointed forward again. On the ground, plants grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, and in the blink of an eye, they grew into towering trees. Looking from a distance, it looked like a jungle. There was no trace of the previous destruction. Sun Hao saw this scene and shook his head slightly. This guy was both a destruction maniac and a restoration maniac. There was nothing to say about this. Was it because of the name he gave him? Where are you going? Sun Wukong jumped up and jumped directly in front of the Lord. Plop! The Lord's body trembled, and he crawled directly in front of Sun Wukong. Spare my life. I'm willing to recognize you as my master. Please give me a chance. Facing Sun Wukong, he kept begging for mercy. My big brother gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Die. Sun Wukong pressed one hand on the Lord's head. The Lord struggled frantically, but it was useless. Kacha! Sun Wukong pulled gently and pulled off the Lord's head. Bang! With a finger of his right hand, the Lord's voice stopped abruptly. The soul flame became an ownerless object. With a wave of his right hand, Sun Wukong collected the Lord's soul flame. The whole action was like clouds and flowing water, without any stagnation. 23. Sun Wukong looked at the universe ring in his hand and said secretly. Then he jumped up and jumped in front of Sun Hao. Big brother, look, I've killed 23 lords. What should I do with this soul flame? Sun Wukong said. Don't worry, put it away first. Let's continue to move forward. In another half a day, we will encounter Ma Lai. Sun Hao said. Ma Lai? Sun Wukong's face showed a touch of expectation. I hope he could be a little stronger, otherwise it will be too boring. Big brother, leave the battle against Ma Lai to me. Sun Wukong said. Of course. Sun Hao nodded. Thank you, big brother. Sun Wukong jumped up and jumped back onto his mount. With a wave of his right hand, all of you, follow me to kill forward. Ding, ding. The sound of tens of thousands of horses galloping resounded throughout the jungle. Chapter 5:23. Time flew, and half a day passed in the blink of an eye. Over the past half a day, under Sun Wukong's leadership, they killed another 2 lords. For half a day, Sun Wukong led the Dark Knights all the way to the east. Everywhere they went, not even a blade of grass grew. As for Sun Hao, he didn't need to make a move at all. Even suppressing Ghost didn't have the chance to make a move. All the lords had their heads twisted off by Sun Wukong, turning into mindless soul flames. He looked incomparably ferocious. On this day, Sun Wukong stood on the spot and looked at the millions of soldiers in front of him without moving. They saw 2 10-meter-tall skeleton giants and dozens of commanders stood in front of Wukong's Sunday. These 2 were the 2 generals sent by Chu Lai, Bai Li, and Mi Ji. Ma Yingli held a giant hammer in his hand and was clad in black armor. He looked very imposing. Hooky, on the other hand, held the magic staff in his hand. 2 cold eyes shot out from the skull and stared at Sun Wukong. Their auras were far more powerful than those of ordinary lords. All of them at the 7th order? How is this possible? Li's voice was filled with surprise. 7th order? So what? Hoki's voice was emotionless. Rank 7 is nothing. What I'm surprised about is that each of them has a supreme-grade divine artifact. Hearing this, Ma Ingji's body trembled. The soul flame in his skull trembled slightly. He sensed it, and his complexion changed. That's impossible. Why are they all supreme-grade divine artifacts? Where do they find it? I'm so lucky. It should be said that we are so lucky. There are so many supreme-grade divine artifacts. If we could get a few of them, our strength will improve by leaps and bounds. That's true. We must obtain one of these supreme-grade divine artifacts. Their eyes were filled with the flames of greed. The dozens of lords behind them had the same expression. Great General, shall we kill them? One of the lords stood up and said, There's no hurry. The corners of Yuan Shirley's mouth curled up. He took a step forward and looked coldly at Sun Wukong. Kid, surrender obediently. I can consider giving you a chance to live. Otherwise, before he could finish his words, submit or perish. Sun Wukong's voice was not loud, but it contained a domineering aura. His voice, with a special magic, directly interrupted the magic. As soon as these words came out, the lords stood rooted to the ground, their faces filled with disbelief. Surrender or perish. Is this kid awake? Don't make a draft when you're bragging. Be careful that you don't break your teeth. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. 3 level 8 warriors want to defeat us? Mocking sounds rang out continuously. His voice reverberated throughout the world and did not dissipate for a long time. However, there was a tremor. Everyone's expressions froze on the spot. The expressions of Ma Ingli and the others changed extremely similarly. His expression changed from mockery to surprise, from surprise to disbelief, and finally, fear. They murmured to themselves without uttering a complete sentence. They stared blankly at the sky. They saw, in the sky, the 9 suns merged into one. In the blink of an eye, the fused sun quickly set. Boom! The sound of heaven and earth shattering rang out. The entire ground was melted into magma by the high temperature. Millions of soldiers, without exception, were all melted inside. Standing in front of Sun Wukong were the 2 generals Bai Li and dozens of feudal lords. Their bodies trembled violently. Their panicked expressions were indescribable. Plop! They lost their balance and fell to the ground one after another. They looked at the surrounding magma with extreme horror. Immediately afterward, the blizzard fell. The entire heaven and earth became icy cold. The surrounding magma extinguished at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, it returned to normal. The entire heaven and earth had become peaceful. The next scene stunned them even more. They looked at the ancient trees growing rapidly underground, opened their mouths wide, and murmured for a long time without uttering a word. Everything that happened today was simply incredible and unimaginable. On this heavenly underworld planet, it was completely unseen and unheard of. Rich vitality filled their surroundings. Plop! Ma Ingli and the others had no strength at the moment. They prostrated in front of Sun Wukong and kept kowtowing. Your Excellency, spare us. We were wrong. Your Excellency, we had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please give us a chance to turn over a new leaf. Your Excellency, I am willing to worship you as my master. The sound of begging for mercy rang out constantly. Thud! Sun Wukong's right leg kicked and instantly disappeared. When he appeared again, he was already standing in front of Ma Ingli and the others. I have already given you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, Sun Wukong stretched out his right hand and pressed forward. This right hand seemed to carry a tremendous force. No matter how Ma Ingli struggled, it was futile. No, Your Excellency, don't. The shrill screams stopped abruptly. Sun Wukong pressed Ma Ingli's head, twisted it gently, and separated it from his body. With a light tap of his right finger, Ma Ingli's consciousness instantly collapsed. A masterless soul separated from Ma Ingli's skull and was stored in Sun Wukong's universe ring. Such a scene strongly stimulated Araki and the others' eyes. Knowing that they were no match for him, without thinking, they scattered in different directions and fled frantically. Collect. His words were followed. The various lords who had just taken 2 steps flew out uncontrollably and finally fell in his son Wuquang's hands. Gotcha! On the field, there was only the sound of heads being twisted. Phew! Then there was the sound of collecting the soul flames into the universe ring. In less than a moment, all the lords and generals died on the spot. After doing this, Sun Wuquang clapped his hands, showing a helpless look. Hey, not fun, not fun. Too weak, really boring. I don't know how strong Ma Yinglai is. If he's too weak, then it's really not fun. Sun Wuquang sighed lightly, jumped up, and landed in front of Sun Hao. Big brother, how is Ma Yinglia's strength? Sun Wuquang asked. I don't know, but he should be stronger than them. Sun Hao said. How much stronger? He should be a little stronger. Only a little stronger? It's too boring. That's not fun at all. Sun Wuquang said. Do you want to have fun? Sun Hao asked. Of course. Sun Wuquang nodded. Then you let Jingui take action first. If he can't beat him, then you take action. How about it? Sun Hao said. Is that so? It seemed a little interesting. Big brother, let's do as you say. Otherwise, let Jingui lead the team, and I will chat with Big Brother. Sun Wuquang said. Okay. Sun Hao nodded, looked at Jingui, and gestured. Jingui immediately nodded. Let's go. Jingui led thousands of dark knights and rushed forward. Sun Hao and Sun Wuquang walked at the end. Big brother, you are from the human world. Tell me the story of a human world. Okay. Chapter 524. Ahead was Ma Lai's lair. An endless army of skeletons covered the entire jungle. At a glance, there was no end to it. There was no end to it at all. Zhen Gui sat on the turtle skeleton and looked ahead coldly. Kill! Without any nonsense, Zhen Gui roared and led thousands of dark knights to charge forward. Boom! Ancient trees flew, and the earth shook. Oh! One of the dark knights rode a flying skeleton beast and quickly shuttled through the jungle, rushing straight to the endless undead skeletons. Hua! The sound of the skeletons cracking rang out, and one by one, the skeletons were caught in the hands of the dark knights, collecting the soul flames inside. The whole scene was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, and the skeleton army had no resistance at all. The giant turtle skeleton was like a fast-moving mountain range. All the undead skeletons that were touched by its feet were shattered, and the soul flames flew out. Countless soul flames flew into the sky, like fireflies all over the sky. None of these soul flames were wasted, and all of them were collected by the dark skeleton knights. However, the skeleton army seemed to be endless, and they rushed forward without any regard for their lives. Breaking thunderstrike, Zhen Gui raised his giant sword and roared. Z! In the sky, dark clouds suddenly appeared. Thunder light galloped in the dark clouds, like a waterfall falling straight down, surrounding the top of Zhen Gui's head, constantly galloping. Go! A sword slashed. Boom! The earth cracked and the sky collapsed. Layers of thunder light formed a lightning ball and exploded in the center of the skeleton army. The whole world instantly lost its color. All that could be seen was the exploding thunder light. Boom! Explosions sounded one after another. Countless skeletons were torn into powder and disappeared on the spot. This blow killed at least 100,000 skeletons. Boom! The bodies of countless skeletons shattered, and they perished unwillingly. Even if those lords brought the skeleton army, they were not their opponents. Soon, the battle was over again. Zhang Gui held the universe ring in his hand, flew a few times, jumped off the giant turtle skeleton, and came to Sun Hao. Master, these are the soul flames of 42 lords. Zhang Gui said. Yes, well done. Sun Hao picked up the universe ring, opened it, and was in a good mood. Dozens of 3-colored soul flames floated slowly in the universe ring, motionless. Phew! Sun Hao took back the soul flame inside and returned the ring to the ghost. At this moment, boom! In the distance there was a sound that struck directly at the soul. Hearing this sound, Sun Hao released his soul force to sense the source of the sound. He saw that a few miles away, an ancient skeleton beast was walking towards Sun Hao step by step. The ancient skeletal beast covered a few li with each step. Its body was even bigger than the giant tortoise skeleton. What attracted Sun Hao's attention the most was the six-legged skeleton monster on the skeleton beast. This monster had flesh and blood growing on its skull, as well as facial features. Furthermore, its eyes could even move around. Although some of the flesh on his head was shrinking, it did not affect his half-human appearance. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao was in a good mood. Looks like I can recover my physical body here. Just nice, I can condense another physical body in case of emergencies. Sun Hao thought secretly. Young master, Ma Lai is here. Zheng Gui reminded. Sun Hao nodded. Zheng Gui, you go meet him first. Yes, young master. Without any hesitation, Zheng Gui rode the giant tortoise skeleton and rushed straight to Ma Lai. The two of them stopped a certain distance away from each other and stared at each other. Fear could be seen in each other's eyes. Kid, you dare to provoke this king's prestige. Then you must be prepared to pay the price of death. Ma Lai's voice was cold, and his killing intent was extremely strong. He, Zheng Gui, smiled coldly and said, I'll give you a chance, surrender or perish. Courting death. Ma Lai's voice revealed incomparable anger. 6 hooked claws waved at the same time. Swoosh, swoosh. 6 piercing sounds resounded through the world. 6 light blades went straight to Zheng Gui. Sensing this scene, Zheng Gui's face changed drastically. Without thinking about it, he used his body technique and disappeared from the giant tortoise skeleton. Boom! 6 explosions resounded through the world. The giant tortoise skeleton directly burst into powder. The soul flame in the skull kept swaying in the wind. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao waved his right hand lightly and saved the giant tortoise skeleton's soul flame. Buzz, a tremor sounded. Zheng Gui's figure appeared behind Ma Lai in an instant. The giant sword vibrated and made a killing move. The terrifying power whistled through the sky and earth, seeing that it was about to tear Ma Lai into powder. At this time, the corner of Ma Lai's mouth raised a sneer. His body suddenly turned around, stretched out a bone claw, and directly grabbed the giant's sword. Ding! The sound of metal colliding rang out. The giant sword slashed on Ma Lai's bone claw and burst into flames. The terrifying power came to an abrupt end. Ma Lai's bone claw grabbed the giant's sword, and even if Zheng Gui exhausted his strength, he couldn't pull it back. Little bug, dare to provoke this king's dignity. This is the price. After saying that, Ma Lai stretched out the colorful flowing bone claw, aimed at Zheng Gui, and pressed down. Seeing this scene, Zheng Gui's skull exploded, and the soul flame shook wildly. He wanted to use his body technique, but he was horrified to find that his whole body seemed to be imprisoned, and he couldn't move at all. He could only watch helplessly as Ma Lai's bone claw pressed on his chest. Seeing that, Ma Lai's bone claw was about to press on Zheng Gui. At this time, Gotcha! The sound of an eggshell cracking rang out. The power that bound Zheng Gui's body stopped abruptly. At this moment, Zheng Gui's body technique took effect, and he disappeared in place. At the same time, Ma Lai's bone claw pressed on the position where Zheng Gui disappeared. The claw was like pouncing on cotton, and it didn't have any effect. Seeing Zheng Gui disappear, Ma Lai's eyes showed incomparable caution. His gaze was directly fixed on Sun Hao and Sun Wukong. Little bug, you can break this king's ancient restriction. Your strength is not bad. However, if you think that this king only relies on ancient restrictions, then you are wrong. This king is the master of this world. In my territory, you can't make any waves. Ma Lai said one sentence at a time. His voice was like thunder, shaking the world constantly. He was like the master of heaven and earth, with an indescribable rhythm. Boom! The strange beast under his feet also shone with colorful light, walking towards Sun Hao and Sun Wukong step by step. Big brother, he seems to be a little strong, and it should be more fun. Sun Wukong's eyes shone with a strange light, looking at Ma Lai in a daze. It's not a little strong, it's very strong. You have to be careful, Sun Hao said with a cautious face. Big brother, rest assured, this little brother will not let you down. After Sun Wukong finished speaking, his hind legs kicked, his body jumped, and he stood on the strange beast's body, standing in front of Ma Lai. Kid, you actually want to come and die? This king will fulfill your wish. Ma Lai stretched out his right claw and went straight to Sun Wukong's chest. Chapter 5:25. Brat, you actually want to come here to die? This seat will fulfill your wish. Molly extended his right claw and lunged at Sun Wukong's chest. Gotcha! The space in front of Sun Wukong shattered inch by inch. Although Ma Lai's right claw seemed slow, it was actually extremely fast. In an instant, it grabbed Sun Wukong's body. Sun Wukong's expression did not change as the corners of his mouth curled up. He said calmly, Divine Bell Shield. This sound rose. Buzz, a layer of golden light enveloped Sun Wukong. Ding! Ma Lai's right claw swiped out, directly clawing at the golden barrier. The sound of metal clashing could be heard as sparks flickered incessantly. Ma Lai widened his eyes in disbelief. Bang! While he was in a daze, his body flew backward uncontrollably. It took him quite some time to stabilize himself. This is impossible. Ma Lai kept shaking his head, unwilling to believe what was happening before his eyes. As the ruler of this world, how could he not be able to break the shield of a little skeleton? How is this possible? Surprised, right? Surprised, right? You don't believe me? Shocking, right? You're still a little strong. You're qualified to fight me. Now, the show is about to begin. After saying that, Sun Wukong instantly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind Ma Shige. He stretched out his finger and pressed on one of Ma Lai's claws. Brat, do you really think that you can deal with me with just a single finger? Before he could finish speaking, Ma Xinglia's pupils constricted and his expression changed drastically. Gotcha! The sound of glass shattering rang out. A crack appeared on one of Chu Lai's claws. Immediately after, bang! There was an explosion. Ma Shirley's claw that was pressed down by Sun Wukong immediately shattered. Squeak! A great pain came, and Ma Lai let out a shrill scream. This sound was like the howl of a ghost from hell. It emitted a high-pitched shriek that made people feel uncomfortable all over. Kid, congratulations. You successfully angered me. As the ruler of this world, how could you possibly deal with me? Go to hell. Andre let out a roar. The remaining 5 pincers waved rapidly. Buzz, the loud noises continued. With Ho Lai as the center, the heaven and earth within a radius of 10,000 li seemed to be drawn and began to spin. Phew! Violent winds whistled, blowing through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Wherever it went, the trees were blown into nothingness, and the earth cracked. The terrifying power was like the arrival of doomsday. Seeing this scene, Sun Hao's face changed slightly. Protect! His words were the law. A shield centered on Sun Hao, enveloping a group of dark knights. The strong wind blew on the barrier, but there was no reaction. When Zheng Gui saw this scene, his heart trembled, thinking that it was close. Subsequently, all the dark knights stared at Sun Hao. The light of worship was like the waves of the sea, surging unceasingly. Young Master's strength is simply unimaginable. In front of Young Master, King Zhu Lai is just an ant. Young Master, what kind of existence are you? The group of dark knights muttered to themselves. Their admiration for him was like a surging river that flowed endlessly. For these, Sun Hao completely ignored. At this moment, his gaze was fixed on Sun Wukong. They saw Sun Wukong swayed left and right in the strong wind, spinning along with it. Jia, little guy, aren't you very powerful? How is it, in this world of this seat, is there no chance to resist? Die for me. Zhu Lai was crazy, waving his 5 claws frantically. Whoosh! The sound of breaking through the air kept ringing. A strong wind directly cut through the wind and went straight to Sun Wukong. Seeing that these strong winds were about to hit Sun Wukong, at this time, Sun Wukong let out a burst of wild laughter. Fun, this is a little interesting. Otherwise, it's too boring. Sun Wukong looked up to the sky and laughed. His body, which was whistling along with the wind, instantly froze in place. He looked at the strong wind rushing toward him, stretched out his right hand unhurriedly, and blasted forward. Heaven-splitting palm, break for me. After this sound, buzzed, the world trembled for a while. A big golden hand condensed and formed, slapping toward the gust of strong wind. Boom! These strong winds cracked and all disappeared. Along with the strong wind disappeared, there was also the howling wind in a radius of 10,000 miles. In front of the big golden hand here, the surroundings returned to calm. Buzz, the big golden hand did not slow down and continued to blast toward July. Seeing this scene, July's expression changed dramatically, revealing a look of disbelief. This is impossible. Rise for me. July waved his 5 claws frantically. He was horrified to find that no matter how he calmed down, the surrounding heaven and earth seemed to have lost contact with him. Calm, silent, without any ripples. Buzz, the giant golden hand blotted out the sky and pressed downwards. The terrifying power made July's scalp tingle. No, don't. July's scream came to an abrupt end. Boom! An earth-shattering sound enveloped the world. July's body and the giant beast under his feet cracked apart bit by bit, exploding into powder. Boom! July's head directly fell to the ground, exploding into a cloud of dust. Damn it, July secretly cursed. The soul flame controlled the head and soared into the sky. This head, turned into a stream of light, was about to disappear into the horizon. Want to escape? Sun Wukong smiled coldly. He stepped out and instantly blocked the path of the skull. He stretched out his palm and pressed it down on July's head, seeing that July's head was about to explode. Wait, give me his head, Sun Hao shouted. Okay, big brother. Sun Wukong changed his palm into a claw and grabbed July's head in an instant. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. Big brother here. Sun Wukong ran to Sun Hao and presented July's head. And you go and repair the surroundings. Sun Hao said, Yes, big brother. Sun Wukong jumped up and began to repair. The surrounding trees grew rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than a moment, the jungle regained its vitality. Seeing all this, July's eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. It was easy to destroy, but difficult to repair. To be able to repair with this kind of means, these 2 kids in front of him were by no means ordinary people. But so what? What can they do to me? Thinking of this, July showed a proud expression. He looked at Sun Hao contemptuously and said, Kid, I advise you to let me go. Let you go? Sun Hao smiled coldly, stretched out his palm, aimed at July's face, and slapped down fiercely. Dong! A crisp sound resounded through the world. Hearing this sound, Sun Hao froze in place, showing an unbelievable surprise. Chapter 5:26. Boom! Sun Hao slapped Ma Lai on the head, as if slapping a metal kettle, making a dull sound. Hearing this, Sun Hao looked surprised, and his face was full of disbelief. Such a strong physical body, comparable to a supreme-grade divine artifact. Sun Hao picked up Ma Lai's head and looked up and down. Ma Lai's head was that of an exotic beast. It had flesh and blood, and even its eyeballs could still move. Seeing Sun Hao holding his head and looking at it, Ma Shirlai couldn't help but sneer. To make you smile. As soon as Sun Hao saw it, he stretched out his finger and directly pierced Ma Lai's eyeballs. Seeing this scene, Ma Shirlai did not panic in the slightest. Not only did he not close his eyes, he even opened them wide. Ding! The weapons clashed, and Sun Hao's hands buzzed. Sun Hao's eyes widened, revealing an incredulous surprise. Even the eyeball is stronger than a supreme-grade god artifact? Then isn't it comparable to a supreme divine artifact? Sun Hao murmured, and his heart was in turmoil. For a while, he couldn't calm down at all. How could there be such a powerful body in this world? Sun Hao could confirm that Ma Lai's head was definitely stronger than his previous body. If he could condense a physical body here, wouldn't it be comparable to a supreme divine weapon? At this point, Sun Hao's heart was agitated, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. This king is undying and indestructible. What can a bud like you do to me? Ma Shirley sneered. His sneer was filled with disdain. Sun Hao was not angry at Ma Shirley's mockery. He looked at Ma Shirley calmly and said, Ma Shirley, I'll give you a chance to live. Tell me, how did you condense your physical body? Huh? A chance to live? Do I need you to give me anything? Even if I can't move, you can't do anything to me. You want to know my secret? Pooh! Mocking voices rang out incessantly. Well, I didn't care about Sun Hao's words. Hearing this, Sun Hao smiled and shook his head. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. You couldn't be blamed for this. It seems that you don't want to say it? Sun Hao's voice was cold. Dream on. Yuan Shirley's words were stern and righteous, leaving no room for negotiation. Hee hee. All right then. I forgot to tell you, I am a refiner. Sun Hao said. So what if he's a blacksmith? Don't tell me you can deal with me. Ma Gulai looked like he would not shed a tear until he saw the coffin. I am a divine artifact refiner. Not to mention a supreme divine artifact. Even a divine artifact will be melted in my hands. Ma Shirley shuddered at these words. Then he shook his head. Brat, keep bragging. Cows fly in the sky, and they fly really high. Ma Shirley sneered. Sun Hao didn't talk nonsense anymore. He stretched out his finger and pointed at Ma Lai's head. Phew! A tin-colored light surged from Sun Hao's fingertips and wrapped around Ma Lai in an instant. The terrifying temperature seemed to be able to melt everything. This is impossible. A shrill screams rang out. To his horror, Ma Gulai discovered that his body was fusing rapidly. If this went on, the little bit of flesh that he had recovered would all be fused together. It seemed that what Sun Hao said was true. This was troublesome. Say, Senior, spare me. I was wrong. Please be merciful. This time, Ma Lai changed his previous attitude and immediately begged for mercy. However, Sun Hao was unmoved. The terrifying temperature continued to wrap Ma Lai. Senior, I'll say everything. I'll tell you all the way to condense the flesh body. Please give me a way to live. Ma Lai kept begging for mercy. Sun Hao smiled coldly. What were you doing earlier? Didn't I give you a chance? Sun Hao's voice was cold. Senior, I have eyes but fail to see. Please give me another chance. I'll tell you everything I know. Ma Lai said, No need. I can know everything by swallowing your soul flame. The tin-colored light on Sun Hao's fingers instantly became 10 times larger. The shrill screams shook the sky. Ma Lai's skull completely melted. Phew! 2 soul flames appeared in front of Sun Hao. Seeing these 2 soul flames, Sun Hao was shocked. 2 soul flames. Sun Wukong, we'll each take one of these 2 soul flames. Sun Hao said, I'll listen to Big Brother's instructions. Sun Wukong said, what do you want to do? You want to swallow me? Dream on. Ma Lai's voice trembled. Hee. Sun Hao ignored Ma Lai and waved his right hand. Buzz! With a vibration, 2 king's marks separated from his 2 soul flames. One after the other, they flew to Sun Hao and Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong, I've erased the will of heaven and earth from this king's mark. You and I each have one. Let's swallow the soul flame first. Sun Hao waved his right hand and handed 1 soul flame to Sun Wukong. He picked up the other one in his hand. After picking it up, Sun Hao sucked hard. Phew! The soul flame was sucked into his skull. The soul flame in his skull was like a wolf pouncing on the other soul flame. Don't. The soul flame trembled wildly, constantly releasing electric light to prevent Sun Hao's soul flame from swallowing it. However, the electric light did not hurt Sun Hao. On the contrary, it made his soul power soar. It was like eating nourishment. You monster! Ma Lai's voice stopped abruptly. He did not escape the fate of being swallowed. Half an hour later, Sun Hao came to his senses. He stood there quietly, selectively absorbing Ma Lai's memory. Both Sun Hao and Sun Wukong's soul flames turned into 5-colored light. At this moment, both of their strength reached the 9th rank and became the existence of the king. Buzz! With Sun Hao as the center, an invisible wave of air spread around. All the dark knights, at this moment, had no restrictions on their strength. They all broke through to the 8th rank. Then, these dark knights took out the collected soul flames and swallowed them. After a while, their strength had all reached the peak of the 8th rank. "Greetings, young master. Greetings, second brother." The neat voice shook the world. The murderous aura was endless. "No need for formalities," Sun Hao said calmly. "Thank you, young master." Everyone stood up like a well-trained army. "Big brother, where are we going next?" Sun Wukong looked at Sun Hao, showing a face of excitement. "Of course, we're going there. This way we can condense a physical body." Sun Hao said, "Really? Great. When I condense a physical body, big brother, I want to eat the dishes you cook." Sun Wukong said, "Of course." Sun Hao nodded and looked at Jingui and the others. "You wait here, we'll be back soon." "Yes, young master." Sun Hao and Sun Wukong stepped forward and were about to move. "Wait." A voice came, and then 3 figures appeared not far from Sun Hao.